pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 1 on our agenda is a vote on the easements that were purchased, or the land that was purchased in the Great Meadow. And we're going to grant a property easement to Lakes Region Conservation Trust for property located in the Great Meadow, tax map lots 3111, 3112, 3115, and 1712. We've had 2 public hearings on this acquisition. It's been more than 7 days since our last one. So I'm going to make a motion that we vote to grant the easement to the Lakes Region Conservation Trust.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any editorializing?
Nope. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next item is Swap Shop Ad Hoc Committee. Who's up?
That'd be me.
We got a crowd here,
I'll
so.
sit here. No, everybody.
Good morning.
Do you want me to sit at the table?
Sure.
Yeah, that's great. Good morning. So our ad hoc committee got together. I got appointed chairman, so I'm speaking on behalf of the committee. The committee has met twice. I have meetings that I can, meeting minutes that I can pass out.
Yeah, I have a copy. You guys do.
Yeah.
You already do?
Yep. Thank you.
And it was agreed, it was a general, good, healthy discussion at both of our meetings. We're prepared to have more meetings. And what we addressed at our first meeting was what items needed to happen and take place in order to see the swap shop be successful and be open again, and possibly ultimately change the minds of the selectmen that voted to close it, to see if they would reconsider and vote to reopen it. The items that we addressed that needed to be taken care of were that we needed a mission statement, and so we put together a mission statement. We needed signage and/or rules so that everybody knew what was going on to avoid conflict. We needed to address the hours of operation that it was going to be open. We needed to address potential volunteer services. We talked about and consulted with the insurance company to discuss liabilities. We discussed location of the swap shop and how to potentially deal with items that aren't allowed at the swap shop that people want to see go to a new home. So I'll back up and I'll start. We did develop a mission statement. Do you have copies of this? No. Okay.
Short and sweet.
Yep.
Thank you.
Point. I think I just gave away my compliment. But the mission statement, I don't know if I need to read it to you. If you would like me to, I will.
Yeah, it's short enough. Let's read it
Okay,
in.
mission, Tuftonboro Swap Shop. Expand recycling and reduce the solid waste stream by reusing or repurposing usable items, promoting an outcome that will benefit our environment and economy, which is consistent with best practices for transfer station recycling operations in the state of New Hampshire. Short, simple, and really the goal is to recycle
Right.
and help on all levels and reduce the amount of product going into our waste stream, regardless how it happens. It's the intention. So, that said, I suppose it could get increased. We did decide that we would like to refer to it from here on out as the Tuftonboro Swap Shop, or TSS, and to avoid confusion over whether it's some other name, fund name given to it. So that said, we went into signage, and we came up with rules, regulations. Several people visited several different swap shops around the state, or around the area really, from Alton to Tamworth to including Wolfboro and Ossipee and Moultonboro, and put together compiled a list. It was good to see how other people are running theirs, what pros and cons. So we have a preliminary list of rules. I apologize, it didn't print out well, so some of it's handwritten on the bottom. The general consensus of our committee was that having these rules posted was going to eliminate a lot of confusion, a lot of contention, and it was a simple way to get things rolling and take a lot of the issues right off the table simply by having signage. So that's where we went with that. We were prepared to have this lettered up when we agree. We'll be meeting again tonight to review more detail on items. But we can put this together, and I don't know if there's any money in the town budget to produce signs, or if it needs to be all out-of-pocket volunteer money. But you can let me know that.
Yeah, we just need a figure. Give us an idea how much it's gonna cost, and then we'll see if we can
Come up with
scare up some money.
Okay. Presently, we have someone that has volunteered to make the signs, but I haven't really investigated that fully. He's still willing to produce them, but I don't know how or what they'll be made of, and I don't want to jump into that basket of eggs without knowing what all my options are.
And you reviewed all this with Clay? I mean, he's got.
He has reviewed it with John, and this
Okay.
came from John, so.
I gave John my input.
Okay.
And then
Great.
I think we tweaked it a little. I think we simplified it some, because but it can be, again, it hasn't gone back to Clay, and it's not a covert operation, it just hasn't had an opportunity.
Yeah, no, I just want to
get
make sure we're
back
all
there.
on the same page.
Yeah. Here's one for Clay. And I haven't compared it to all the others that we have in our library to see if there's something we forgot or whatever. The next thing we talked about was hours of operation, and we felt that it didn't necessarily need to be open the same hours as the transfer station. So we came up with, as a group, Saturdays, that 3 out of the transfer station is open 4 days a week. Everyone felt that the swap shop being open 3 days a week was ample, and that it did not need to be open the entire duration that this transfer station is. So it would open a little later, and it would close a little earlier than the transfer station, allowing all that to go more smoothly. Then we rolled into volunteers. We talked about how the volunteers would work, where they would come from, what the liabilities were, how that all works. Talked to Primex, who is the town of Tuftonboro's insurance company, so that was a freebie call that they're glad to give information. And so I have the coverage for volunteers as far as Primex is concerned, and it's basically, it's a very limited liability. It doesn't give workman's comp or anything like that. But it does have some basic coverage. Also under the volunteer was that we would need two other, this is via Primex, two other forms of volunteer identification. One would be that you would have to go through the town agent to be signed up to be approved to be a volunteer. So you would have to be approved, appointed. Is that the word?
The next one's the appointed.
Oh, no, this is the appointed, sorry. That's the,
No, keep that one.
right, you can keep it, but this is the statement and agreement. This is what the volunteer signs that they agree to conform to rules and regulations at the station. This here is the volunteer appointment that would need to be signed by an official, whether it be, I don't know who it would be, whether it would be Clay, or it would be the town clerk, or,
Will probably be one of us.
oh, okay, the selectmen, got it, that would appoint the volunteer. Any questions so far?
Do we have, do we have volunteers
What's that?
currently? Do we have any volunteers currently?
On the
No.
town roster that you already deal with?
Well, we have committee members that are on volunteers, but of course, they have appointments.
That's statutory though.
Yeah.
I'm a volunteer in a couple of different things, and they always want me to get a criminal background check, and maybe that's because of the way I look, but
Possibly.
I don't know whether or not we should talk to Primex about whether or not we need to do that.
I think that was brought up.
That's in that, right.
Right,
It's in one
that's
of
in
those
that
things.
Is it?
first one that I don't believe that was an issue. Or
It's just interactions
not
with the
selling
public.
anything, and right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool, as long as it's covered.
We did talk about the volunteers wearing safety vests that would identify them as volunteer staff, so that they could be easily identified.
And how many volunteers per shift are you planning on? 1, 2?
Well, we talked about volunteers, and we talked to the Wolfboro place. There could be one at a time, and there would be an overlap. We haven't solidified how the volunteers work. We have a list so far of volunteers that we're working with, and there'll be a sign up, and there'll be a volunteer meeting at some point, if indeed it does reopen. We talked about it being run by volunteers, and we found out that it really can't. It has to be run by the management at the transfer station from a liability issue. And that they are ultimately under the direction of the management at the transfer station. We also talked to Wolfboro, and the volunteers aren't there all the time. The volunteers are there to help and help sort and to help organize and keep the place under wraps, but they're not required to be there all the time. For example, I went to the Wolfboro one on Saturday, and there was no volunteer there. So it's kind of a,
They're in and out.
they're in and out, and it's a check on, check in when necessary, and give it an overview. And that was kind of the consensus there. So working on the schedule, and I don't think we've put out a call for volunteers, an official call for volunteers to man the swap shop, which would be probably the next step to making it happen. We do have a list, preliminary list.
I would think for the initial phase of this, if you were to open it again,
Mhm.
we'd need to have a volunteer there. when it's open.
Mm-hmm.
And if-
All the time, or just in
Yeah,
general?
and if it works out that, 6 months from now, it's happening, people are used to the fact that there's people watching, then we might talk again about not having anybody there.
So
And
you,
managed by Clay while they're there, I'm happy with that, but I don't think I want to put Clay in the box of calling volunteers up to see who's coming today. I think that has to be,
that's correct. We have a
Phil's job.
chairman of the volunteers that we're working with.
got rid of that, didn't you? All right, so that sounds like it's,
We've sort of
Good
designated
organization.
chairman to each and every individual
Right.
item on the checklist here. It doesn't mean that they're initially in charge of it, ones just see that it's
happening.
gonna happen and
Right.
figure out how to pull it together and ask for direction if they need to ask for direction.
Yeah, because it should be locked, I think, when it's not open. And then Clay's gonna need to hold the keys, and
That's-
somebody's gonna have to
that's
show
correct.
up and get the key from Clay, and
So
it'll work.
we were thinking that that wouldn't necessarily be the case, that Clay would open it at 8:30, that it wouldn't have to, but, and I know you're suggesting that there is a volunteer all the time. We were going on the assumption that there wouldn't be a volunteer 24/7 for
Right.
the hours.
Yeah,
Not
it's
saying
only
you
6.5
can't.
hours, not 20.
But, okay, so 6.5, 3.
I just think from,
Yeah, and you're stating that, so.
the issues that Clay brought up and other people brought up, that if we start it again, we need to start it real strong, and if we can back off after that, I'm fine with that.
Mhm.
But that's gonna be a discussion with Clay and your team, about
Okay.
how to handle that.
And I don't disagree. We did feel strongly that the swap shop rules and regulations would help
Yeah.
tremendously to
Right.
circumvent indecision.
Yeah, and having someone there to interpret it and direct, I think that's gonna be really clear.
Or ignorance of,
Well,
That's correct.
I love the bulletin board idea, because, there are things, I might have a stereo receiver that I want to get rid of, and
That it doesn't go right. Well, I hadn't got to that part yet, but
I'm
yes.
sorry.
That's okay.
I'm just trying to move this along.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You're good. We discussed that the volunteer system, if this indeed can happen and we are on track to open for July 1st, that we thought that the appropriate thing would be to have the volunteers all meet at the site on July 1st, see it, feel it, touch it, and agree on how it's going to, what the shifts are. But prior to having this physical element, it was going to be a little tough to officially nail down all the
You need all the
pieces.
pieces in place.
Yeah, so that was the plan was a Tuesday, July 1st meeting, or meeting at the site, if it indeed is open. If it's not, then obviously that wouldn't happen. Then next on my list was location, where to place this. There seems to be, there was a late email last night from Clay to change what we had talked about, and so I suggested that quite possibly it should just go back to where it had been for the past few years, just to get it open and to get it rolling. Clay, I don't think agrees. We don't want it to be a difficult thing. We want it to be easy and seamless and amicable and compatible.
Right. I think I stopped up there, I think it was yesterday, it was Saturday, one of those days. And Clay walked me through the different locations and why some were better than others. And I think that having the amount of traffic that comes through there in the summer makes that upper place where it used to be a little more difficult. And I think it's worth a walk around to see where he's pegged it out. I don't know if you've been up to see it. But it's
Well, it changed last night, so.
changed again?
No.
Okay.
It-
Oh, well, so I guess you were privy, but we weren't.
Right.
So that's fine.
Yeah, it was
It,
yesterday that I saw it. And it seems like a great place, only because you got plenty of parking. If you got kids involved, they're not in the middle of the traffic.
Mhm.
What I've done is I put some cones up where the perimeter
Yeah.
of the swap shop would be itself. It shows how much available parking there is. Actually, probably about 3 times more than any other place. I
It's worth a
agree
look.
with Philip. Initially, we thought up by the snowmobile trailer, but I agree that's probably not as safe,
Yeah.
nearly
And
as
we
safe
don't want it
as.
too far away from the facility. I mean,
Right, and it's right next to the
It needs
containers.
to have a back and forth
Well, it needs to
interaction.
look like it's included.
Yes.
It's not just
And
renting it
I
out.
don't, our concern is that we don't want it to be out in left field
Right.
and you're on your own over there. So we can certainly, I mean, I'm familiar with where you're talking, just past the metal
Right.
Past the,
container.
yeah, about halfway between that and the snowmobile trailer. Where we used to store
So-
boat trailers.
Yeah. So speaking for the committee, we would just be concerned that it's orphaned and we don't want it. We want
We'll
this.
go into it with an open mind, take a
Yes.
look.
And then why it changed.
And if there are other spots that I don't know whether Clay's given it any more thought than the other day, but, I mean, let's keep the discussion going on it anyway.
Okay. We didn't, in addition to this, we discussed, and everyone seemed to agree, including Clay, that adding a 15-yard dumpster, which is a smaller dumpster, a lower dumpster, to the site so that the volunteers have access to clean out, do the cleaning out and depositing in the dumpster. There was a discussion about fees of the dumpster, and that went around, and I'm not sure. But
Clay's gonna be here next, so we'll talk to him about that.
Then the next item was the free stuff board, which we thought, I don't know who came up with it, but it was, if you have something that you feel is valuable, worth upcycling, and it doesn't belong at the swap shop, please put it on the board, and someone can contact you, and possibly you can get rid of it that way.
And there are items specifically that Primex has cited as should not be included in the swap shop, and their concern is the town's liability. And so the thought, I think, with the free stuff board is if I have something that I want to get rid of that's on the prohibited list, and I put a sign up there and somebody calls me and I give it to you, the town's not involved at all, and there's no issue of that sort of thing. One of the ongoing things is electrical stuff. If I got a toaster that works, we've been advised that you don't want that stuff in the swap shop because of the potential fire or other hazard that it could cause. But if there's a way I can get it to somebody who can use it, then that's a good thing.
And the other, I mean, and it's kind of off topic, not off topic, but Clay had mentioned maybe a professional swap shop as well for builders, for good building material. So when you're looking at the site for this, let's see if we can't get everything contiguous. So if some site has a little more room in it that might have, and this is down the road a little bit, I'm just speaking off the top of my head, but a contractor swap shop I think would be a good addition if this works. That's some staging I'd like to get.
Two more items. So, and then there was discussion about surveillance cameras. If there's gonna be a volunteer there all the time, we probably don't need a surveillance camera, but we were wondering about surveillance cameras being placed for a variety of reasons to avoid illegal dumping or such. I did get a price on that. It was about a $3,000 ticket to add surveillance cameras.
And you've never run for selectman before?
I have never run for selectman.
bring surveillance cameras up in this particular town, and you're gonna find yourself with every Max Ledoux and his brother in here talking about their constitutional rights not to be watched. So that it's troublesome. I agree that it would be a great asset, but it's gonna probably have a significant amount of pushback.
It's a third rail issue.
Well, I mean, if
I don't know what that means.
The third rail is the electrified rail and old trolleys.
I get that.
There's some issues in town that the third rail, one is
That are
mandatory.
that are hot items, is what you're
Yes.
referring to.
strange illusion, but at any rate, I mean, we'll certainly look into it, but I can't make any guarantees about the
Okay.
acceptance of it.
And then last on my list was just us having our ducks in a row and what you would need from us we would be prepared to come back to your next meeting of the 24th, I think, June 24th. If necessary, in some way to communicate to us what the follow-up needs to be and what holes that we haven't plugged to make this happen. Do you have any input on that for me? Or any vehicle to get back to me on that, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, you've given us quite a lot to think about, or to look at. I think that's a good start.
Yes.
There's a few issues obviously citing. Is there additional capital needed for signage or another dumpster? How are we going to accommodate that? No insurmountable issues. I'm hoping that we put together a management program for inside the thing too, so you can age your inventory, et cetera.
We've discussed it, we have not put one together.
And it may happen as you go, but I think it could get way out of hand.
I think we felt that as it got started and they got a pulse for how it was working, they would have a better feel for what was.
Yeah, some things take a minute
Expired.
to get rid of and some things take a day.
And we still need to discuss a little bit more what is accepted and what we want. I learned more by going in the Wolfboro one on Saturday, that I don't necessarily know that that's where we want to go.
Mhm.
But we'll discuss that at tonight's meeting.
You're going tonight, Clay?
Yes.
Okay. Just so we all are on the same page as far as acceptable items, not acceptable items, that sort of thing. So that there's no.
Right, I don't
know
I was
about that
actually
now.
looking to refine it a little more, which I think, I'm sure Clay would be in favor of.
Yeah.
Not expand it, but
Yeah.
I was in the Wolfboro one and it was full of clothing. And I wasn't feeling like we wanted to go
We have
rummage
a
sale.
drop for,
Yeah, that's why we put those Planet A boxes there,
right,
because that's 100% recycled. It's not thrown away. Whatever goes in those Planet A.
right, and it's nothing that, you have to worry about cleaning or
Correct,
Right.
any
right,
of that.
correct.
Right.
So, and that was kind of where we.
And there are places, a number of places around for clothing, where if you want your clothing to be clothing, I mean, Planet 8 is great. Most of that stuff turns into rags, which is fine, as opposed to going to the landfill. But
I want to make insulation out of it.
yeah, well,
Oh, is that what they did? So I always wondered what happened to that. So
my
perfectly good
understanding,
stuff.
yeah, my understanding is maybe a certain amount of it can be reused as clothing, but you end up with a pile of stuff, and there's an ongoing market for rags, and they turn that into rags. But
That's how I
there are a number of places for used clothing around. Marianne is in them all the time, so I know very well. I mean, Lord and Taylor in Wolfboro.
That's right, take,
Yeah,
anything that
yeah.
happens to church or
Yeah.
whatever.
White Horse has a thrift shop over in Ossipee.
Street fair.
the street fair, yeah, the,
We've digressed, I think.
you know, the church has their annual fair and auction.
Shout out the oddest summer resort in America.
Yeah,
Taking stuff out, I mean, are you gonna have a policy about
We-
some dealer coming in and just emptying the place?
So we discussed that, and although we felt that there were a downside to it, the ultimate goal is to upcycle. And
That's
you
what
have to
you
be a
have to-
resident, you have to have a sticker to put something in it, but you don't have to, we felt as a committee that you don't have to have a sticker to take whatever you want as much, if they're cleaning it out and it's going away, isn't that our goal?
Right.
Not to decide that Bill got too much yesterday and Lloyd wanted some. It didn't get,
We'll
he
keep
was,
them out.
Lloyd was having a funeral that he
They're
didn't
not
get in
getting
there.
in.
We decided that wasn't our responsibility to police who got how much.
Got the good stuff.
Right.
That never has been a problem. It's always been the other end of the spectrum of people bringing stuff in. You know, with a pickup truck or a dump truck.
Too much
stuff.
at once.
Yeah.
and we did talk a little bit about that at our last meeting, and I think that's subject to some further conversation in terms of, you know, we all have stuff that we want to repurpose, and having a place to take it is great. I mean, I have a whole cellar full of stuff that probably ought to be repurposed. If I took it all to the swap shop at once, it would overwhelm me.
Well,
And from time to time, that's happened.
And a good example, that's the reality check. We're designed for a certain number of people for solid waste for a weekend. Okay, so we have 2 compactors. There's only X amount of space to fill those compactors. If one household gets cleaned out, it's not gonna kill us. But you multiply that times 5, or 4 households all coming at the same time, then we're gonna run out of compactor space halfway through Saturday. Then what do?
Right.
So the reality is, we're designed for a certain number of bags, so we haven't made that restriction, you know, so that we can make it through the weekend.
Well, hopefully if we open up the swap shop, it will reduce the number of bags.
Correct. We did also discuss that there were times when you don't always get to schedule when your aunt or your mother or someone is going into a home and you need to empty the house, or the house sold and it has to get emptied now or go in the construction debris. So we felt it was we didn't want to set a hard, fast rule, like you're only allowed to bring a trunk load of stuff. You have to play it by ear, and if there's 5 people moving to the nursing home that week,
Right.
that's kind of random, but it might happen. But for, you know, someone selling or someone deceased or whatever, that's where the bulk of stuff we felt comes from. We didn't confer with that, but I mean, when you have an overload, it's not because someone finally decided to clean their basement, like Bill. It's because
Oh, don't worry, I'm
it's
not
because
in any
somebody.
danger of cleaning my cellar out.
So it was because somebody necessarily needed to empty a space.
And you know, and it's a great example of why you need somebody there. Because if somebody's cleaned out their basement and they're unloading their stuff, and somebody else comes in with some other stuff, it all needs to get eyes on it to make sure it qualifies.
Right. That's when you get caught with a box with, you know, 10 gallons of paint, and insecticide, and liquids and stuff that we are not legally able to have.
Right.
That's a separate issue that we'd like to address some other time, but we decided that was not part of the swap shop
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah. Great. Any other public comment?
Steve,
I have a
Linda?
comment with respect to what you just said, Clay. There's nothing that precludes somebody driving up to the compactor and throwing that box
Exactly.
in the compactor.
Exactly.
So it is a problem for you, regardless of what the location is in the transfer station.
Yeah, it's a problem. If you personally throw paint into the compactor, then all it is, but if we take that paint
Yeah.
and throw it into the compactor, we lose our license, we get fired, we lose our job. Okay? So there is ramifications to the station if that stuff is left in the swap shop or left anywhere on the station.
I understand.
We would like to
Strange
see
word.
something happen where a facility is set up that can handle hazardous waste
And we have that.
on a regular basis.
Well,
On a very limited basis, we have that. Right now, we
we
can go
do.
twice a year, the end of July and the beginning of August, to get rid of any hazardous waste that came from my aunt's basement 6 months ago.
And and people
So-
can still take it to Wolfboro, but they have to pay.
That's correct. Or we have the choice of sticking it in a trash bag and throwing it in the compactor, which is not what we want to promote, which is not good for the environment, which is what ultimately happens when you have something you need to get rid of and I'm not gonna be around.
Well,
on the
make
third
the
weekend.
swap shop a success, and then we can talk about that.
Thank you, that's all yeah.
Yep.
Hazardous waste is a separate
then
issue.
Philip's next committee will be the continuous hazardous waste.
Well, it shouldn't really be up to volunteers to figure this out, but that's different. Well, am I good?
Well, just as a brief reminder,
Yes.
I did this civics lesson on Friday with the third graders.
Yeah, yes.
We're the executive branch of government. The legislative branch of government is you. We're all in this. So we may be volunteers in this effort, but you're a representative of the
Got it.
government.
Point taken.
All right. Go ahead.
It seems to me that we, as a group, would need, it might benefit if we could get a sense of your thoughts at this point, because there are things that, there's no point in doing a lot of other things on that list. If you turn around and say, no, you don't want to
We're
open
gonna
it.
stonewall it.
Right. So,
No,
I wouldn't use that word, but you have, so I won't argue with that.
No, this is the kind of effort that I was looking for,
Yes.
Yeah.
you know, so I'm pleasantly surprised.
Well, I will make a motion that we reopen the swap shop on July 1st of 2019, subject to having the proper features and procedures in place, the types of things we've been talking about today and through the committee. That's my motion.
I don't think
Can
you're
I
ready.
second that?
No, unfortunately, you can't.
As a citizen legislator.
And Tuesday's the second, if anybody really wants to.
Yes,
Literal.
July 2nd.
Oh,
You're gonna be
Sorry.
back here the 24th, are you not?
potentially, given positive feedback
Right.
and feeling that I'm not
Yeah,
wasting my time, then
I
yes,
can do it.
practical.
And it also takes some time to get the signs done up
Right.
for the opening of this.
Right,
So
and I
we
don't-
kind of need,
I don't want to charge through and start on the sign trail without some
For shelving or
more feedback.
anything like that.
And also the
Yeah, thanks.
volunteers, I think when you put your name on the list and start
Right.
signing, I think it would be great for us to know, yes, this looks like it's going to go through, and I think then the volunteers could get organized
Yeah.
and be ready for that opening.
I mean, I'm ready to vote for it, but I need a little more meat on the bone, that's all.
So that's a positive
I think,
affirmation.
you know, there's a couple of areas where we need to tighten it up. Location, you're gonna do the signage, the mission statement's done. The volunteer effort. I don't know if you contacted all the volunteers, now that you've had the discussion with us, and you know that my feeling of one of the three selectmen is that there's probably gonna have to be a little more work in the first part of this than just catch as catch can. So if we could get those couple of issues settled out.
Was location.
Isn't that what the motion on the
signage,
table
volunteers.
addresses?
No, the motion on the table is saying we're gonna open on June 1st, or July 1st.
Yeah, but with
That doesn't mean you're
stipulations.
gonna come back here on June 24th. That doesn't mean that the issues that are in my mind are gonna get settled by then. It means we're gonna open on July 1st. I'm not ready to say we're gonna open.
Subject
Subject
to.
to, yeah.
Yeah, he does subject.
I did say subject to.
Right.
I hate those kind of motions. I mean,
Well-
it's just it's like Congress, for Christ's sake. If you want to second it, we'll go ahead, but I'm not ready to vote on this until the next meeting.
My position is I support the swap shop. I'm listening to everybody here. Do have some questions, and they're not negative, it's positive questions. I think that the first part of July is reasonable. I agree with what both of you have said. I have an open mind and I'll listen to everybody equally. I'm not ready to vote.
I mean, I don't want us to break down, let's say you get a negotiation with Clay about location, and you guys can't come up with an agreement. Now we gotta vote.
Then what?
Yeah, then what, exactly. I'd rather you get all those issues settled and then we'll vote.
Well, I guess I take a different approach, which is, in my
That's why
view,
there are three of us.
yeah, that's right. In my view, there's been a swap shop in this town for a long time, and there should be a swap shop, and that we had some issues, and the vote to close the swap shop rather than addressing the issues certainly created some interest in addressing the issues, but some disruption in the normal flow that we could have avoided. I think it's incumbent on us as a town, as a board, to find a way to make this thing work. And that if I appreciate we got to agree on a location for the container. Clay's is a little bit different than. I have every confidence that we'll end up with a location that works. That as a group we'll have something that works. Put a framework in place to make it work going forward, and it's going to need some adjustment as we go along. But swap shop has basically worked in this town for at least 20 years. Not without some issues along the way, not without some problems from time to time, but here we suddenly come to the point where it doesn't work anymore. That just doesn't make sense to me, other than it's an issue we don't want to deal with. So that's why I made the motion to reopen it, subject to putting the proper pieces in place. And we go down the road a little bit and it blows up, then shame on us for.
Well, then we address the issues. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right, and I think you guys have had one meeting or two meetings?
We had two.
Two meetings. I think I have every confidence that on June 24th, we're going to vote to reopen the swap shop.
Okay.
Can I just ask, though, that the reservations or comments you have, share them today, either later before our meeting tonight, because then we can address them as a committee.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I thought that I'd been pretty clear about what I was looking for. You've hit all the points. I think it's just a matter of tightening it up a little bit on the volunteers and on the
Location, volunteers, and what was the other?
Signage.
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 Yep.
Okay.
Lloyd.
And then Lloyd.
And I also have questions about financing, and things that people.
Well, we can find the money. I mean, I don't think we're talking tens of thousands of dollars, so,
I'm a little
Clay can give
cautious.
us a figure on that. But
Given that we saved $5,000 by not having it open, according to Clay's figures from before, we're ahead of the game right now.
you
so.
should be, we'll cut you that check this afternoon. Yeah, I mean, we need to, and we're reviewing Clay's operation here next, I think. So I don't see the money as being the issue, it's just the organization and making sure all the pieces are in place. And then off we go.
Okay.
So I don't want to reopen and have it not work. I want to reopen and have it work. And I think it can. I think you guys are doing a great job.
Very good. Anything else?
Anything else?
I have a question. Philip mentioned earlier about a dumpster on the side of the swap shop, when they clean out the swap shop. And one, we don't have that yet. Two, why can't we just use our dumpsters that we presently have without incurring any more cost.
Well, we're gonna have that discussion with Clay. I don't know if there will be any additional costs. I don't know what the parameters of that dumpster are.
Well, yeah, I'm just following one up on it, that's all.
Right.
So do you want to second my motion and we'll table it, or you just want to ignore it?
I don't mind doing that, but I'm not gonna call for a vote.
No, I
All right, I'll
understand.
second your motion. And we'll table it until the 24th.
Second.
I seconded it. I could third it. but you
No,
can't second
your
it.
motion to table, I second.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
All right, thank
Thanks for
you.
your time.
Thank you.
folks.
Appreciate it.
Should we stick to the next one?
So that was nice of you to give me a political way out.
What's that?
It was nice of you to give me a political way out.
Did you vote on that motion?
No.
Table?
Yeah, we did.
You were answering
Yes.
Everybody's a constitutional expert. Clay Gallagher, you're up. I don't want to hear any of that.
Good morning.
Minutes at some point.
Oh, we'll do the minutes, right? But we'll do them after, but I just wanted to get those people out here. Sorry to work.
I didn't day off. I'm impressed.
Come on in.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
We'll do them anyway. Monthly total for May. The first two pages are the specific items and when they were shipped and how much. The monthly totals were 12 solid waste compactors, 16 CD containers, and 3 plastic containers. On the third page of that, you'll see the total monthly wrap-up. It's still in red because I haven't got the weights in the bill from Waste Management yet. We shipped out 1 pallet lead acid batteries, 1,865 pounds, for $495 of revenue. Tire container swap out, we did $820 cost. Electronics container, $1,275 cost. Revenues through May 2019 are approximately $36,798. Last year at the same time was $27,466. And you can tell on the third page, the monthly total, the previous balance for the year-to-date total, 47, 45, and 12 for the top 3 containers. Compared to last year's, again, once I get the weights from Waste Management, I'll be able to add them up and compare. We are a little bit over on solid waste. We're right about even, spot on the construction debris. And plastic commingle, we're about exactly the same, 9.54 tons, compared to a little bit more tonnage this year for plastic at this time. A lot of that depends because the plastic containers go about once every 2 weeks, and as the summer starts to move in and camps come in, we get more plastic in, so they get a little more frequently. And if you ship a container the last day of the month versus the first day of the next month, it can skew the total a little bit for the month. General info items on the agenda. New stickers, 2019-2020, still in at the transfer station of the town office for purchase. We did attend the NRA conference on 20 May. And we got 6 hours of training credit for that, so everybody is up to speed on the training credit requirements for the year. Small portion of the recycling building roof is peeled up, and we've been attempting to get it fixed for a while, but it's a fairly small job, and a lot of these guys are wrapped up in in bigger jobs. I did get in touch with Stanley, JMS Roofing, and he stopped by yesterday. I also got a free piece of roofing from one of the roofers who was carrying out the extra for my job, and he gave us a free sheet. So the sheet's sitting there, and JMS went up on the roof. He peeled off the old one, put a rubber mat down, and he's gonna replace it next Saturday or Sunday with the sheet that we have.
Is that gonna be under the $1,000 insurance limit?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Now, we, when he was up there, I had him generally inspect the entire roof, and there's a lot of the screws that fasten it down have backed out. I mean, that's an old roof, and
They were put directly into plywood.
I think they were instead of
It's
into
an
scrap.
issue after
Yeah.
a few years.
So he's tightened quite a few down, but he's gonna give us what our options are on the roof, and what the cost would be to fix it properly, repair it properly. But when the screws back out, that's when you get the, when you get the leaking and the wind damage. So, and the wind is bad up there. So at some point in time, I will come back to you all with the estimates and the options and estimates, so we can develop a game plan long term. It's survived for a long time. I don't think it's in critical need, but it's something we need to look at.
Well, regular maintenance to a building.
Right.
Like paint.
Right. We have had the facility is cleaned along the fence line, and everything's picked up, and it looks pretty good right now. Again, that's another issue that has been brought up. I'm not going to debate the issue. We get it done, and we get it done in a good manner. It's a win-win for everybody. The real issue is when people throw stuff into the compactor that's not in a plastic bag. That's where it ends up.
Loose stuff.
Okay, so I'm not going to argue about who picks it up or how it gets picked up. We will do that in the best and most efficient means possible. The issue is
Getting people to,
to put their stuff in a trash bag before they throw it in the compactor.
and do we have signage up at the compactors?
The signs are up, there's signage all over, inside the compactors, on the wall, below the windows, on the ends. We have a really hard time having the signs stay on the sides because of the high wind. But we have tons of signs up there of what's allowed in, what's not allowed in, and we try to do the best of our ability to keep that stuff. But there is no requirement for mandatory recycling. There's no requirement to put everything in a bag, unless we want to do that. But that's the real issue, not the trash yard.
Yeah.
That's tile floors, you brought up, guy about the red tile floors, and you wanted to talk about that.
Jim Patrick.
We have 3 of them, the compactor offices for each compactor, and then the main office and bathroom in the recycling building. And I'm amenable to, they'll be on the transfer station building maintenance line, and I'm more than welcome to have somebody come in.
The other floor that's identical is out here. And when you spoke to James, what did you think of his approach and his style?
I thought he was pretty straightforward. He presented 2 options. One was very expensive, and he didn't recommend that. He recommended the cheaper version of the 2 to get it cleaned and polished and get some type of chair mats so that you don't ruin the tile floor.
And you've located an individual that will donate those, correct?
But, yes. The problem is walking in and out in the wintertime, those floors are going to get trashed.
And he recommended what they call fingertip rugs that pick up all the
Right.
dirt, but they're
Right.
hundreds of dollars.
And you can get these services that come in and pull the rug up like they do at Scully's Market in the front there, but they cost a fortune too. So,
One of his floors is identical to the floor here, that it's radiant heat.
right.
And I can't remember the last time they were cleaned. Radiant heat needs to be efficient.
So you have money in your budget to cover this?
Well, it would be in the transfers, building maintenance.
Right.
Yeah, yes. I mean, money's in there.
Yeah, that's, I don't know that we even have to
No, I mean, that's.
take an action. I think if
That's
you want the
your
floors
call
clean,
to-
you've got maintenance money to do it,
Right,
and that's your decision.
Yeah, somebody brought it up and said.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the floor out here at the same time, or is it?
Well, that's a different discussion, because we handle that money.
Right,
Um,
well, give it some thought. He would do it, he would agree to do this on Thursday when this building is closed for half a day and when your building is closed.
Yeah, I mean, somebody can come up and
Right.
open up. I'll get together with you. and
Okay.
We can talk with him.
Yep.
I'm in the process of working with NRA and trying to get a new brush vendor to pick up our brush and NRA sent me a list of 4 or 5 people, but it's just like Wolfboro's working with them as well. I've tried to work with Wolfboro or do a consolidation type thing, and he doesn't want any part of it. But and I don't blame him. I mean, I wouldn't want that either. So I called a couple of these guys, and these are major outfits that come like after that big storm when they have the big tub grinder type thing. And they're very expensive, you know, $6,000 to $10,000, and they expect to get about 30 truckloads of wood chip after it's done. We don't have that. We wouldn't have that in 10 years. So it forces us to go on a more everyday chipper type approach. However, I talked to these guys and they say most of the loggers, the heavy loggers that do it all the time, they have chippers that are on steroids, if you will, that can handle.
They feed them with a grapple.
That can handle bolts and nails and plain wood. And a lot of places, anything that's not painted wood product or can go through these chippers and then they chip it up. I'm working with one of our local guys to see if we can work a deal where he will come up and take our brush and take it to his location, because even with that, he can do it cheaper by hauling it off and consolidating it and then doing it than we can do. So I'm in the process of working out something with him to do that.
On that, okay, I'll wait till you're done.
Okay. Safety inspection, we had it the other day. Again, I think you were with them. You came up, we were all smack busy. I mean, we were just back, so I didn't get to walk around with you guys. I don't know what the results were, but no one came in.
There wasn't anything catastrophic. There were, I think there were a couple of repeats, but.
Repeats from what, previous years?
From previous years, yeah.
Because last year we didn't have any of them. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll get it.
so it's, yeah, there weren't any showstoppers there.
Okay. The signage, went to the LRPC meeting and Carrie went over the other night. They come up with some pretty good stuff for hazardous waste and collections. It's a single sheet page. We also have, Carrie took all the copies yet to get them. This is the list of all the dates, where and when for hazardous waste. You touched on it with Philip before.
Now, there's one additional date, the first Saturday of every month, people can go to Wolfboro, but they have to pay.
Third Saturday, yeah.
Third Saturday.
Third Saturday every month, and they're listed on here.
Yep.
Lakes Region Household Product Facility at Beach Pond Road. And it
Excellent.
gives the telephone numbers. We post these at the, we get one at the post office, fire station, the town hall, town office.
There's a bulletin board on Lake Street.
Yeah, Kerry's going around to put them up,
Yep,
so.
I spoke to him. He's
And he's
very
got
good.
mine, we'll get these laminated and then get them up at the station as well. We also have a big banner up at the station. But primarily, the two that are free is the last Saturday in July, and that's at Meredith, and first Saturday in August, and that's in Center Ospey Highway Garage. Free up to 10 gallons. So, and all you need is a Tupperware transfer station sticker on your car.
Cable problems.
Oh, yeah, you asked for cable problems, you had some, I was reading in the minutes or something, that I had a small cable issue, where we signed a contract in order to get service out there. We signed a multi-year contract with them.
And we bundled, right?
And we bundled, because we got the best deal with the bundle. Better than what we had with Fairpoint and Consolidated with just internet and phone. So, we took the 3-year contract, which gave us basically a $6,000 credit against the installation of the cable to the facility. And that was for a 36-month time frame. And like cable companies everywhere, you know, after 2 or 3 or 4 months or 5 months, everything's standard, and then you get a bill that's $12 more. Well, what's this $12 increase for? And so I looked at, and my problem, and the reason I'm bringing this up to you, I know your issue with them is different, but this is about the 3rd or 4th time I've tried to deal with Spectrum and our business account. And I can never get our business account manager to talk to me or call me or anything. I mean, it's like he doesn't exist. We've been through 3 different people now. And customer service, if you call, you get residential customer service,
Right.
not business customer service. And they don't know anything about business. So our issue is we need to get more emphasis on an account manager who actively participates with us on our account. Not just transfer station, but here and anywhere we have cable with them.
If I remember correctly, Time Warner had exorbitant prices to install that line and provide services,
Correct,
correct?
$13,000 to $14,000.
And didn't the president of Spectrum, when he first took over, knock $10,000 off the installation
So
price?
I'm not, I don't know the exact number, but it was in the ballpark.
Maybe we have to deal with him again.
Yeah.
Well, what can the selectmen do to
But
help you?
I'm just responding to your request for information for cable. What we need is, we need an emphasis when we have an issue or a problem. We need to be able to pick up the phone and get in touch, or have that account manager get back in touch with us.
Excuse me though, but you've rectified your
I-
problem,
our-
right? 'Cause
my-
I took
our
all
problem
that
is
out
done.
of my, okay.
Yeah, our problem is done.
He couldn't have
You know,
called me and saying, oh, I
It took me-
fixed it,
It
so.
took me 3 months and probably 40 hours of work to get, oh, your adjustment request associated with the case has been completed. This is a case number now for $17.92.
So
But it's
this
a
issue-
principle, it's a principle.
But we're gonna sign a letter,
And that issue has been resolved.
but is that
With the
issue
billing.
in the list?
It was, but then he told me the billing issue was resolved.
Yeah.
But the issue of having a representative is,
It's
yes,
still in there.
correct.
Right, okay?
Well,
So
the
that's
thing
why-
the company has to understand is you only have a 16-hour week window
Right,
because you're open on weekends and they're not.
right. Yeah, that's our, our business week is 2 days, which, they end up doing more other than that, but. And this is our transfer station article for the Falconborough Times coming up. I did not put anything in about the swap shop because I don't want to put something in that's incorrect or, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in mine.
It's Jake. Jake is the guy with Jake. That's what it is.
Yep.
And last one was swap shop. Yeah, I will need to go over I don't think, this is my personal opinion, I don't think location is an issue. That's the finesse and the safety and whatever else you want. The station's the station. It's been nominated to put it up by the Quonset in the Quonset, but it's been nominated all over. So it really is, the location is, to me, the primary issue for location is safety and traffic. And so, you know, we have it coned off, and that's where I believe it should be. So I really don't think that is a major issue. The advantage to that is 3 times as much parking, it's away from traffic, and it's right next to the 30-yard dumpsters, which I disagree. I disagree with the 15-yard container, and I disagree with any other kind of container because we have them there already. We're already paying for those containers. We're already paying for the transportation and shipping of those. It's just a matter of getting the stuff from now, if it's located there, right across the street to the number 4 C&D container. It's not that big of a deal. It shouldn't, you know, I mean, to me, I don't think that it's an issue. Bigger to me is the illegal items.
Yeah, what is the cost of a 15-yard container? Annualized?
I can't give you an exact cost. It depends on it. You know, waste management is or whoever does it is probably going to depend on how often it's pulled. Mm-hmm. If it's only pulled once a year, then it's going to be more expensive, and there's probably going to be a rental fee. If it's pulled once a month, or you know, then it would be the normal tipping fees that we pay on our construction containers. We don't pay rent for our 30-yard containers or any of the containers we have, other than the tires and the electronics, because they're pulled more frequently. My concern with having an open container over right next to the building is the same concern that I have when we do 19 Mile Bay and they take the container down there a day early. Yes. Unsupervised, people not there, you're going to have all kinds of crap thrown in that container. And that creates the same problem of why we shut the place down. Mm-hmm. It's just in that container versus in the shop. So, to me, the primary issue is and always has been misuse of the facility because it's not manned, and keeping the stuff that's not supposed to be in there out of there and sent to the right place to be disposed of and or paid for.
How many places, transfer stations have you and I gone to together?
At least a half a dozen or more.
And every single one of them with the swap shop had the identical problems we had, or worse.
If they had it.
Or worse.
Yeah.
So
Conway's is shut down.
Yep.
It is shut down. And they still have the same problems in Wolfboro. Adam shuts that facility numerous times. He shut it this year. Because if it's not manned and people throw a lot of clothes in there, like you said you went in there this weekend, or somebody said they went in there, a lot of clothes. Adam will walk in, he'll take one look and say, that's it, it's closed. Padlocks it, leaves it closed until they have time, and they get the front end loader and a couple people, and then they come over and they clean the whole thing, top to bottom. That's it.
Well, I
clean
think
it out and
the,
open the door.
I mean, we went through the presentation by the committee.
Right.
And I think they've done a good job of
Oh, outstanding,
putting
yeah.
the program together. If there are issues with whether or not to have a separate container, that's all stuff that can get talked out.
Right,
I mean,
yes.
There's gotta be a reason for it or a reason against it.
Right.
But the reason I ask about the cost of a 15-yard container,
Mhm.
there are a number of dimensions, but it just gives us part of the framework. In other words, if we're talking, let's say we gotta rent a 15-yard container for a year because we don't pull it very often. Is that rental $5,000, $500? You know, and
Yeah.
maybe you can get a more accurate ballpark on that. That in my mind becomes a potential expense, okay? So if we have to rent a container because it doesn't get pulled frequently enough, it's gonna cost us X number of dollars a year to do it. The advantage, I know from what the committee talked about, of having it right next to the swap shop is then they can, you know, as they clean it out, the stuff goes right in that container rather than having to go someplace else, even if it's directly across from it. And part of the discussion we were having was with the idea that the swap shop was going to be further away from the C and D
Correct.
containers as well. But it's helpful to me in the thought process to have some idea of what cost is
Yeah.
going to be. So, you know, it's no different than how much of the sign's going to cost. $50, $500, $50. It's you know, it's just a matter of getting our arms around those dimensions.
But there are only so many questions that we're gonna get answered before.
Right.
Right.
So, you know, let's get the parameters set for how we're gonna operate. Let's say there's no separate container. It may transpire that a month from now or 2 months from now, it makes sense to get a container.
Exactly.
Now we have that discussion, but I don't think we can presuppose how it's gonna run.
We're
100%.
We're trying to project an environment that's going to work well.
Right.
The key, and the committee has talked about this, is as we get into the process, some things are going to be evident as needing some tweaking. And the key to making anything work is you got issues come up, you fix them. You don't say, well, you know, so as an issue comes to the surface, it's incumbent on us all to find the right way to address it so that it doesn't spin out of control. That allows us to operate in a manner that's that pursues the mission and doesn't create other issues. Safety, excess, you know, stuff that shouldn't be there and that sort of thing.
All right, I mean, I think
I have some
the
questions.
horse is dead. Can we stop kicking it?
Please,
All right.
I do have one question not related to the swap shop. And I know you've told us that before, but I can't put my arms around it. Tires.
Tires.
We collect a fee on disposed tires.
$4 a tire.
Right. And does that,
Tractor trailer tires are more.
right, and does that cover the cost for disposal?
I can't tell you exactly, but it's pretty close.
Okay.
The cost for pulling a container is $820. The annual rental fee is $750.
$1,600.
So if we have one container a year pulled, we're spending $1,600. The problem with the way we account for things, because we don't do it like a lot of the bigger transfer stations do, when people come into Alton and they go to use construction debris or tires or anything like that, everything's sorted out by the person throwing it away before he gets there. If it's not sorted out, they dump it on the ground in a pit, and then they have to sort through it and charge and put the stuff in right containers. We don't do that. We put everything, with the exception of tires and metal and stuff, in a CD container. So when somebody brings a truckload of stuff, like yesterday, I had 2 TVs, 4 tires, and 2 end table cabinets. Then you price it out, you write 1 ticket, and you write CD, or you write electronics. So you don't get an accurate count on the number of tires that go into that container. But in general, over a period of time, you'll get a reflective amount that you've collected for tires. But, you know, the way we
How do they
have charge
charge
slips.
us? Do they charge us just by the weight?
No, they charge us by the container. The container and there's a rental fee, and then there's a
But they don't charge for the
they don't
tires.
charge for the tires.
Okay.
It's all a set fee, and it's worked out so that, and NRA has provided us with the approximate cost per tire over the average period is $4 a tire, and that's what most other facilities charge. Some charge more.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
A couple observations, and they're all positive. Checking stickers. This is through my personal observation. I think that your staff has been professional and polite, but I think they've gone as far as they can, and it takes a police officer to straighten up the other people that are being difficult.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask the selectmen to recommend that you contact the chief, and maybe there's 3 Saturdays that he assigns an officer there. There's been 5 or 6 instances where your people have not responded to the inappropriate comments.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Well,
Or am I putting you on the spot? I apologize.
I want to talk to Andy anyway, because, you know, as normal in every town, there's individuals that want to see every ordinance you have, and every, you know, if you say, hey, this is not a racetrack, slow down. Well, you know, what signs do you have posted? What do you have here? How can you tell me what to do? And then if you talk to the police chief, it's well, are we going to enforce that or not enforce that? There's a couple issues rolled in that. The traffic flow, when we changed the traffic flow, this was before me. There was huge discussion and debate, and they changed the traffic flow to what it is now. There are still a few people who are bound and determined they're not going to follow that traffic flow. And they come out of the compactors, come around the corner and just floor it, and up the hill they go. If you say something, it's you know, F you. So I need to talk to Andy first, basically, as to what.
Can we ask him to coordinate with the chief?
Sure.
The next thing has to do with brush.
Mhm.
And I'm glad the road agent is here. In my meetings with the TAC, I asked the different town public works directors, you know, what do you do for chippers? And they say that they're an expensive piece of equipment, and they have to be kept sharp and in shape and whatnot. And several of them say that they take the chipper to, is it M&B Tractor in Conway?
MB.
MB
Yeah.
Tractor. And one of them said, what you do is if you have an older chipper, because I didn't have the nomenclature on it, is take it up there, and they will do an assessment from top to bottom, right down even to the axles and the bearings, and give you an estimate of what it is to fix it.
Right.
First of all, I don't know if it needs fixing or what the state of the art is. The other thing is there a possibility that 2 departments working together, because you need a chipper to some degree, right?
We do have one, yeah.
Okay, is it in working shape? And
At the moment, it has a leak in the radiator,
Mhm.
but we'll have that fixed shortly.
Could I ask the selectmen to have you and him talk about it? If it's something that two departments can, and I'll be candid, share in or share the workload or whatever, or maybe it's time to get a new one or lease one or whatever, okay?
Well, we used a commercial, your standard everyday chipper from one of the loggers before.
Yeah, local fit.
Local, and he quit doing that because periodically there'd be a tree or a piece of wood or something like that with a nail in it,
And or fence post hidden.
yeah, and it would break his blades, and for the money we were paying, it just didn't make it worthwhile. So the chipper is an aggressive, like, are you familiar with that? Aggressive ones that take the bigger. If it's an aggressive chipper, that we would surely be.
I'm a rookie at
able to
this,
use
and
that.
just like the guy repairing the roof, all
Yeah.
I'm doing is giving you the information and please
Yeah.
run with it.
Yeah.
The other thing is with the brush up there, again, your guys are really challenged. I've seen now multiple instances where people have come in, it took you a month to get the guy to come back and take 11 logs that he dumped there. There was a creosote timber or something that was snuck in on the road. I'm wondering if there could be some signs like other places. There are some people in town who mean well but don't know that there's a cost for brush. See the attendant first.
Yeah, there was a sign right over the boulder there that's torn in half. So
Yeah.
And
And remember,
we can put a few.
there's a fellow in town that said he'd be willing to work with us on signs. Maybe
Yes.
he could do something.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your work on the swap shop. It's going to be a problem to get solved. Thank you.
That's it. Thanks, everybody. Good luck tonight.
We have that first. She wants to take
Okay,
Is
Mrs. Hersey's here, or Mrs. Haffman. That's it.
fire and
now, Dennis is waiting, you're supposed to take care of him at
Yeah,
9:45. He just went out to his car, and then he has an appointment, so he may not show up.
That's right. I did forget the appointment.
well, we have a citizen that's first. Let's have her first.
Hi, Betsy.
Hi, are you ready?
We are.
No?
Yes, come in.
Are we ready? Here? Hi, I'm Betsy Bateman.
Chip Mulvey.
Bill Markison.
Hi, Bill.
Good to see you
And
again.
Lloyd, I know you.
Hi there, how are you?
This is a real estate sort of person and a close friend.
Mr. Chairman? Point of order.
Go ahead.
I've known this young lady since teenagers, and I don't know if it's appropriate for me to step aside or leave the room
I
or
don't vote
park
on
or
anything,
whatever.
so I think you can limit your questions to.
This is really simple, straightforward stuff, and we won't be here very long. For you guys, it's gonna be a yes or a no from you guys. This is about the entrance on Lane Pond Road to Merrill Lake for the town. It's deeded into our deed with the town. I think it's 20 feet wide, it's just supposed to be for canoes and kayaks. Anyway, there's a lot of violations of that, swimming, noise, trespassing, wear and tear on the land. I want to say that you guys have done a beautiful job on Lane Pond Road. I think it looks really great, and I can see it come together with, I think it's Merrill Lake Estates Ecology Group that runs around and does the aquatic gardens. And I was just down on the road yesterday. There's a place at the bottom of Lane Pond Road hill on the left-hand side. It's we call the corner beach. And there's a lot of brush in there, not brush, but foliage.
This is on the Culvert end.
Okay, you go to the Wolfboro.
the culvert.
Right. You go down to the bottom of the hill, Wolfboro Hill.
Coming in from Wolfboro.
Right. And then on the left there, that corner,
Yeah.
right in there, there's lots of growth.
Yeah.
And the general public has been trespassing in there, and they've made a really nice path in there. And the nice part, here's kind of an idea what it looks like. That's a video. I had the video on by mistake. They made that. Now, right on this side, see that big tree? That's a 200-year-old pine tree with a massive root system all through that's holding that soil in place. There's also two smaller trees on either side, back further, of about 50 or 60 years old, again with massive root systems that are holding the soil in place. So one thing you're not going to have to worry about if you swap that beach property to that point on our property, swap them, give us back the one by the camp, put it there, is that they're not going to wear and tear the land, and you're not going to have the land fall into the lake eventually, because those trees are going to hold it in place. They're big enough trees, I doubt they can kill them. It's also a wide enough area to get canoes and kayaks in. I think that's what they've been doing. You don't want any bigger boats in there because it's too shallow. And I don't know if you're aware, but every August when the water's really low, there's been trailers and trucks backing up into the beach by our camp, getting stuck in the sand because it's too shallow.
Well, I mean, we did, historically, I know that's happened. We did a lot of work on the other side of the lake on that boat launch to try to mitigate that.
On 109.
But what I think,
And we also perched the beach on Lang Pond Road to make trailer access impractical.
right.
Oh, yeah, well,
The stairs.
this piece, they completely won't be able to because they can't get past the trees.
Right.
It's wide enough for the canoe, wide enough for the kayak if you're gonna carry them in there. But there's absolutely no way you're gonna get a boat trailer in there of any size. So you'd be completely out of that hassle, plus you're completely out of the hassle of the wear and tear on the land and going into the lake eventually. Your road right now is built up higher than the beach. It's nicely stepped down. But you get a good hard rainstorm in there, that's gonna go right in the lake. You know, because your road is now higher than the beach. So this piece, you wouldn't have to worry about it. It's about 12 feet long, 15 feet long, and it can rain, cats and dogs, it's not gonna move. You know what I'm saying?
So I know Lloyd mentioned at the beginning that you've known him for a long time. I was a selectman prior to this, back in 2003, I think.
Mary.
We came this close to combining those two beach lots that the town owns. And then
Where's the other beach lots?
there's one on either side of your camp, if you will, the cottage. There are two lots. One's 21 feet and one's, I think, 16 or 18 feet access to the lake. And what we wanted to do at that time was combine those into one, either at one location or the other location.
I don't think in our deed there's two.
No, there's only one.
It's only
There
one.
are two. And if you look at the tax map, you'll see there are two.
I did look at the text map. I didn't see
I don't
it.
know if Jackie's still here, but
Okay.
I can go get a
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah,
Well, I have one real concern. I was there yesterday showing property, and Bill Hunt was the other agent. It was my listing. And I'm telling you, there were kids that were almost killed. They have been parking, there were cars parked on both sides of the road, which leaves you maybe 7 feet to 8 feet to get by. The trucks going down that road at 50 miles an hour, it was so frightening. There were 3 generations. The grandfather of the couple looking at this property was out there trying to stop the trucks because there were young children swimming. And I mean, sadly, the parents weren't really watching these children. Come to find out, Bill knew them. They weren't even from Tuftonboro. So the point is, somebody's gonna get killed there, and it scares me to death. I was frightening watching it. I mean, at one point a truck went by, probably 50 miles an hour. The dust didn't clear for 5 minutes. And there had to be, in the course of 45 minutes that I was there, a good 50 trucks that went by. And
Well,
this is a
certainly-
Sunday.
Yeah, well, certainly, but
There's
So
no
I would like to
posting.
get the 2 entrances sorted out, because my
Yeah.
understanding is only one is 20 feet in between the stone walls, period.
there are two. I can go get a copy of the tax.
Yeah, I wish you would, because I'd like to clear that up, because we don't have that on our
And Jack's
deed.
saying you have one right there.
But it's scary. I mean, somebody's gonna end up getting hurt. I mean, it's right,
There's no speed limit sign on the road.
there's not. on
And
the
it's
whole
not
road.
posted that they can only do canoes and kayaks. So they don't know, a lot of them, and they're coming in from out of state, like, or out of town,
Well,
like
this
us.
was, these people that Bill Hunt knew were from us.
You know, if the town can't manage it, if they can't patrol it, they can't manage it, then this other piece, they wouldn't have to worry about half of that. You know, they wouldn't have to manage it because they can't get in there with their boats and their trucks. See, that's the beauty of the other piece, you know? And then there's growth on the left side of it that's too tall, they won't go through there. They don't wanna bother with it, the general public trespassing. So they have this path. And, you know, if you wanted to swap, I'd be glad to go down and meet with you there and walk the property and take a closer look with it, but first I wanna know.
This is the cottage,
And this is your open.
this is the town of Tuftonborough's property, it's 20
Oh, that's-
feet. And this
It's
is-
21 feet.
And this is the town of Tuftonborough property, it's 13 feet. What we had suggested with Mary was that
Oh,
we
this is
combine
the-
them,
I don't know about
This is-
this one.
town of
Oh,
Tuftonborough.
that's the culvert.
That's a culvert.
That's the culvert. You're not gonna go find anything in there. That's where the wetland goes underneath
Okay,
the road. The water goes underneath the road. You rebuilt that and you rebuilt this culvert.
there's a concrete culvert here.
Yeah, that's the
Concrete
town.
Culvert here.
They don't cross the, wait a minute.
Yeah, they go
Here's the
underneath
camp.
Right,
There's a culvert over here. This is the wetland. There's a culvert over here that you rebuilt.
right,
And then on the other side of this barn, there's wetland and there's a culvert in there you built.
right here.
That's probably that one.
Yeah.
This one must be the one at the bottom of the hill that's put in by Wolfboro. They put in culverts down the hill.
Wolfborough's town line is right here.
All right, I don't know, oh, that is, I don't, well, if you have another culvert in there, I don't know where it is. It's out of sight, out of mind.
At any rate, there are two
There's
pieces
two,
of
there's one
property.
But that's
that's
not-
21 and one is 13.
And, right, one's 21, one's 13.
But that's a
Ours-
culvert.
No, it isn't. Our suggestion was that we combine this 13 with the 21, and get rid of it, or combine this 21 with the 13.
Yeah, you want this whole stretch, which is right in front of our camp over
no,
this way.
No.
What do you
Listen,
mean
That's how we
combine?
said
I'm asking, we had asked that this 21 feet be combined with this 13
I
into
see.
one single
Okay,
20 or
So what-
34-foot piece.
Now, I
Down
have
here.
a thought. I
well,
have a
the only
thought.
part about that is then if you, well, as long as you leave your foliage there, otherwise you're gonna have trouble with bigger boats getting in because it's wider. It's too shallow, you know, that's why.
Our management of the town land is our
That's
property.
exactly right, it is,
So-
yeah.
But
But I just wanna
there was-
warn you that-
there was resistance, and we couldn't come to an agreement. We came perilously close to an agreement, but we didn't come to one. So that's still on the table, if you can get your other family members to
So the
agree.
town would be willing to, I just wanna, it could be a selling point for us, you know, just to know what you
Yeah.
would do, okay?
Yeah,
So you would combine the 20 feet with the 12 feet and put it together in one entrance somewhere?
right.
And do you think that corner area down at the bottom of the hill is probably the best place?
Show him that on the map. That's it.
No,
Where's the
no,
hill?
my understanding is you're talking about taking this and then combining it here, so you
Right.
have.
You want, not there,
one-
that would
one
be a
wider-
very bad place to
One
put it.
wider access
For
point.
this to there.
But I
And that
think,
was what
I
was-
But
think
you
what's-
mean in distance, put the two together in distance and then move the whole place somewhere on the lake that's
No,
a
No.
little piece?
No, that's not what he's saying.
No,
He's
What do you
saying,
mean combine?
taking this one and putting it down here. I think my concern from a safety standpoint, and that's basically what I'm here for, is that I think to put it closer to this end, where the road is still paved, and where there is an area that you could pull off the road safely, what's happening here is this is a very narrow road. I mean,
It's
when
all
you
dirt.
get two SUVs parked on either side of this gives you a very small area to go through. And, I mean, having watched it yesterday, I invite you next Sunday weekend, come down there and stand with me. You'll be appalled. someone's gonna die. These kids are walking into the road, they're walking out to the car, their car is parked across the street, the trucks are literally going 40, 50 miles an hour, trying to squeeze in between those
There's no
cars.
speed limit down there.
There's no speed limit, well, it's not posted.
It's not posted, that was not
I
posted.
think it's posted at the Wolfboro and it's posted out.
Wolfboro Inn?
And
Oh, Inn, oh, yeah, up the Wolfboro Tower Hill, but when they get down here, and then, that's the runway, you know.
It's
But I think
frightening.
this
Okay.
corner,
well, yeah, but that's
that's what?
you need to get all of your people together.
You're absolutely right.
And agree on something.
You're
And
right,
then present it to us.
you're right.
I mean, we're just talking about hypotheticals at this point in time.
Yeah, that's all this meeting was for.
Right.
Yeah, would you be interested in a swap, basically? We'd like to be able to tell a buyer. yeah, the town
Conceptually, would you
consider.
agree moving these two places to over here?
Or move them anywhere, as
Yeah.
long as we've got, well, not anywhere, we're gonna
Two
have to
together.
have similar access to the
Yes.
pond, limited to the 13 feet 12, 13.12, and 21.75, so.
Okay.
44.
And the only other thing I want to say is if you go wider with your piece and the general public starts pumping on that piece, you're gonna have trucks and trailers in there and they're gonna get stuck because this whole place, all across here, only is 2 to 3 feet deep.
Right.
You know, if you really want to know your lake, you're gonna get out there and swim in it, and we have. And they get out there, they're gonna go out there, they're gonna go out there 25, 30 feet with a trailer, they can't do it, they're not long enough. So you're gonna avoid the whole thing by using the property with the trees to stop the trailers without the police, see? That's the advantage, Mother Nature will do it for you. Now, if you want to combine two and put them down
So
there,
I hear what he's saying. He said you need to get everybody to agree.
Yeah.
And you want a petition from the family or a
Yeah, just
proposal
a proposal,
to relocate this
right.
and a concept, so this will be like a conceptual review.
Yeah.
And my concern is that if you go down by where the road is wider, which it is down here by the
plus
Wolfboro
it's
Inn,
hard.
and it's paved, I think you'll have less of a problem with the parking. And it's further, it's a longer distance to the water, so I think it'll be safer for kids.
And you can clear it back if you want them to park on the side of the road and go into that path. It's about 15, 20 feet long from the road to the beach there.
Right.
So if you want to clear an area and put cars in, you can do that, you know, if you
Well,
own
we
it.
have, I mean, the right of way extends out into there, so this is the road proper right there.
Yes.
So there's distance on this side for some parking, which we talked about in the past as well.
Well,
Not
I guess my question is, so you allow parking all up and down Lane Pond Road?
So for-
There's no shoulder.
I mean, that's a question. So they can park on both sides?
But I don't think it's
That's a
posted
really narrow,
parking
it's not
in
parked,
the
it's
other.
not posted. So that's kind of my concern.
Just like any other
Yeah.
road, you
Yeah.
can park on both sides of a road.
Okay.
Okay, so
But I
there
think
are
I think
places in
you're right
town where
with-
we have restricted parking.
Okay.
This is not one of them. Maybe
Yeah.
it should be,
I'm saying
but,
maybe consider it,
Yeah.
where it's only one side of the road.
you know,
Well, I think your road right away is 50 feet wide,
Right.
right.
and that's it. You know, you can't say they can park on our property, you don't have the right to do that.
And nor have we ever.
Just,
Okay, no, I know you haven't, no.
just
Okay.
on the right of
But I just want to clarify things, so we
I
have.
would just ask that they
We
maybe
haven't cut any
patrol.
additional trees
Yeah,
to allow for parking
No, you haven't, no.
into the right of way.
Yeah,
So-
technically, they'd be our trees anyway.
Right, we'll
Yeah.
give you the wood.
Okay, so come up with a proposal for a tenant you would listen anyway, huh?
Absolutely,
Okay,
yeah.
and you think maybe it's a good idea to move down the other end where it's
I think it's a
wider?
good idea to combine the two pieces, but we've thought that
Yeah.
for decades.
But you wanna
I
put it
guess
right across
I'll
from our
voice my
barn.
thought process, and I'm not as familiar with it as you are, all right? The town currently has access that people use as a beach and for other activities, some of which are not appropriate. You've come to us with an idea that we move our access down well away from where your cottage is, which certainly works well for you, and I
It should
understand
work well
that.
for the town.
Well, I'm not familiar with what the access point looks like on the water. People use that as a beach and a place to launch their kayaks and whatever. So if we take a parcel down someplace toward the Wolfboro end that is further away from your cottage, but it turns out that the access into the water at that point is less friendly to use, then
Yeah, I didn't
Then-
walk
then-
down the beach, I'm not
right,
too
so-
sure what it looks like exactly, but they created that path, we didn't.
well, all I'm saying is that we currently have a public access point there, and to move it, in my mind, to move it to a place that's less usable for the public is not a good
And
solution.
I don't think it's a good solution for you either, because then you're gonna have people parking in front of the cottage and using the.
Yeah,
lake.
not where you pointed out,
waterfront is
absolutely
pretty
not.
much the
We're
same,
not gonna
that
go
whole
with that.
stretch
But
of
if you wanna take it down to
Oh,
the other
I
end,
hear what
yeah.
you're saying.
and if you can
I'm
widen it
just
and
voicing my
landscape it
opinion,
so
which
it's
is
nice,
that
you know, once you get it, you can do what
to
you
put
want
the
with it.
public access into a less desirable
Oh, I agree.
use location is not,
I guess the
something
question is
I'm not
that
sure it is.
in the short term,
don't know that it is, don't know that it isn't.
Right.
it be appropriate to ask the town to mark their 18 feet or 21 feet by where the canoe kayak launch is? Because quite frankly, people think the whole stretch is town property. I mean, I don't think that's a lot to ask.
And, you know, a speed limit sign would be nice.
A speed limit sign would
We
be
go out there and
fabulous.
slow down, start, well, you know, who are you, you
I
know?
mean, this man was standing out there going like this to trucks. I thought he was gonna get hit.
People drive too fast.
They
Yeah,
do.
we'll talk, we've got our road agent here this
Okay.
morning for a review. We'll talk about some signs.
Okay. we
So a
take-
proposal, and you
From the
might
town.
wanna combine the two pieces, but I don't, we're not gonna let you combine them in front of the barn. No, that's, you don't have any parking, they're gonna wear and tear and trespass on
just
our
come up
land.
We'll just come up with a
But
proposal,
we'll
that's
come
all.
up with one,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
We've taken enough of your time, thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Be safe.
Yes, I want everybody safe.
And I think what you've done
You have to
so far is
understand,
great, looks
about
great.
2 years ago, Betsy had a property on the market in Wolfboro. The day before closing, on
Donna.
Route 16 and
Fawcett,
171,
F-A-U-C-E-T-T,
was the couple that was killed in
she's
that.
a real estate.
Huh? You knew them?
Yeah,
Yeah, I did too.
A roundabout is going in
Yeah,
there,
but I
that the
mean-
legislature
So
overruled.
we're like neurotic with safety.
But the last 5 people to be killed at that intersection, I know.
Yeah, I knew
Where's
the
that?
last.
171 and
28.
Oh,
But you're
yeah,
the people
that's
who were
where-
buying your property.
Dot was killed, yeah.
Yeah.
My buyers, 2 days before they were supposed to buy
Yeah,
it.
well, the next day, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, have a great summer.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Robert Still.
He's back.
I have plenty of information on that if you want. From the past.
All right, let's go back to the beginning.
It was also surveyed when the construction was done.
I'd like to review and approve the minutes of our last meeting on June 3rd, 9 a.m.
I have nothing to add.
Look good to me. I'll move approval as presented.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I don't think we had any non-public, did we?
No.
Okay. Now, is Dennis still here?
He'll see you on the 24th.
Yeah.
He's gone.
He had an appointment.
Good.
I'm not sure if you heard Steve about Lane Conroe. Did you hear Steve? Steve mentioned he had a lot of information on that.
Does he?
I just didn't
It's
know
good
if you
to
heard
know.
him. I didn't think you heard him. You didn't say anything, so.
All right, our next appointment is with the Highway Department, Jim Bean.
I second.
Morning?
How are you this morning?
Doing well, thanks, how are you?
Thank you for waiting.
I don't know, I'm totally confused to it for some reason. I'm off my meds. I guess.
Okay, so, since last time we met, 3 weeks ago, but we finished prepping Sawyer Road for paving. And we have 2 stumps we're gonna dig out at the end of the culvert, but that's not gonna stop us from paving. We put over 30 loads of gravel on that road, and we did quite a bit.
This year?
Prepping for the paving. On Sawyer Road.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, we needed it. Yeah.
And is it a 50-foot paving up Phineas Graves?
Yes, yes,
I know
we
there was a
prepped
lot of
that
sand
area
that
as well.
had to be removed, so.
So you're going on to Phineas Graves Road?
Yes, we talked about that. We think it's necessary so we don't dig a hole trying to access getting back onto the pavement,
Okay.
because that happens quite a lot. And Dane Road project's moving along pretty well. We had quite a few trees removed that were in the ditch line, so we can finish ditching and removing the stumps, get the water to flow. And I spoke with FR Carroll last week, and paving is expected to begin the last week of June. Yes, it's on the calendar for the last week of June.
And it's gonna last for how long?
As far as when we do
Well,
the,
hopefully the paving is gonna last a long time, but how long are they gonna get the process of paving?
they're usually pretty quick. I'm gonna say probably 3 days by the time we start the
So it
grinding.
could be before the 4th of July.
That's our hopes, is to be done before 4th of July. Yep. And it always, it's the weather, you know, we gotta deal with rain.
And they'll also do the edges after paving, correct?
The gravel, yep, adding gravel, yep,
Compacted, great.
yep. You know, I think our target, you know, we're gonna be on target as far as our work getting done for them, so we're in pretty good shape there.
And did we decide not to do a final coat on Brown Road? Or did we decide to do that?
No, we are doing final code.
We are, yep,
Okay.
yep,
So it's Brown Road, Dame Road,
And Sawyer.
Sawyer Road.
yep,
Okay.
yep. I wish we were doing all of Dane, but we're just doing a
Yeah,
section.
I wish we were
here.
doing Northland, but we're not doing that either.
What was
Yeah.
the first row? Dane, Sawyer, and what?
Brown.
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 Brown. Thank you.
Well, you certainly worked with Carroll because he's gonna save us 12 grand by doing bundling those 3 projects that are close to
Yeah,
each
that
other.
helps for sure, yep.
It certainly gets my attention.
The catch basin on corner of Durgan and 171 has been raised. Looks good. The state crew did a real nice job on it.
Saw them doing it.
Yep, they did a nice job with that. The road grading, as far as the dirt roads, most of the major roads have been completed. We hope to have the rest done this week. With the rain, multiple times a week, it slows us right up, you know. You can't grade when the roads are wet. It doesn't come out well. But we're getting there, slow but sure. And we've had to repair a few washouts on the side of the road from the heavy rains. And we also took down some trees that were hanging to the road over here on Butternut Lane. And it's about as much as we've got in the last 3 weeks done.
And what was I gonna ask you? You've reviewed, I know that there was I happened to be at a planning board meeting the other night, and there was a housing development approved on
Federal corner.
Federal Corner Road. And there was some question about the sight lines and the access road and all the rest of it.
I hadn't heard anything about it yet, to be honest with you. This is the first I've heard of it.
We should probably, do we have a form that you sign off on the location of roads and driveways?
We do, yep.
Okay.
There's a form and, you know, I go and look at it. It's mostly for the culvert size and whatnot.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's gonna note the location of roads. So they can put in the
So,
driveways.
yep, so they usually flag it for us. They put in gray sticks or something to see what we have.
Do you have any questions of the road agent, Mr. Wood?
Yes.
See, you got your file cabinet out, I thought you might have something.
On driveways, they come to Jack and they get a permit, right?
Correct,
Unless it's a state road, correct?
yes.
And it gets given to you.
Yep,
And I've repeatedly asked, when a piece of paper comes in here, like his blue folder, that he assign it a number and go through. So if I have a question about it, or he has a question, as I understand it, it gets assigned a number after you approve it, correct? And
I'm
then
not
it-
sure
and then
if
it-
I see the
and-
number.
And then it goes to the town clerk for filing, correct?
should, yeah.
And after that, what happens?
So then they're supposed to come back after they complete it. After the road, their driveway is completed, it's supposed to come back. And then I review it to make sure that it's done correctly. to where we had already, talked about the size and everything and that it's pitched correctly. And then I sign off on it. Unless it's not done correctly, I don't sign off on it. We
So
actually have a
does that
handful of
become
those.
a part of the occupancy permit?
It should. I'm not sure where it happens from there, but I mean, we've had a few that I didn't sign off on, but I haven't really seen any houses being built on either.
And
so-
what happens when it fails?
We tell them what needs to be corrected.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it up again, this is not a personal attack. You go on a corner where someone was killed recently on Durgan Road, and 2 years ago, that collapsed. You know the driveway I'm talking about, just up from Marcia's old house?
The
The
driveway
death was
collapse.
quite a long time ago, actually.
I'm not familiar with which one you're speaking of.
Come in from the four corners,
Yep.
start to go around the corner, there's a house that's being built there,
Yep.
and there's a driveway that was built on ledge.
Yes.
It has failed. It failed 2 years ago. How does the town get that corrected?
I'm not sure. I don't think we signed off on it, so I'm not sure where it goes from
Okay.
there.
You go up the road, and on the left, where the granite post is,
Mhm.
in the last 2 years, 3 vehicles got stuck there, including the paving truck that almost overturned when they were doing Durgan Road. Mr. Carroll repaired it, put the culvert in the right way, and it's now paved, meets code. No, my point is, just on Durgan Road alone, we have some issues. And there's no money in your budget to do it, but you sort of get stuck, and I'd like to address that so that we probably have 5 or 6 driveways in town that have failed, right?
There could be, yeah,
Yeah.
there could be.
And I've asked at my TAC meetings how other towns do that, and of course, there's an RSA and whatever. And Guilford is the last town. What they do is they rebuild the driveway and give the betterment easement to attach it to the tax bill. They take over this because,
Okay.
I look on Shirley Way, how are you gonna put a culvert in where there never was one? But it's ruining the road, right? Remember the pictures we have?
Yep.
There's a couple more on, or at least one on Ledge Hill Road that was a temporary driveway, and
Yep.
it's filled in. And this is not a personal attack, it's just, what can the selectmen do in the future to allow you or the other elected road agent to... Because what happens is, and you've explained this to me, when water doesn't drain properly with culverts and catch basins, it goes under the road. And if there's moisture there, you can pave all you want, and it's counterproductive.
Well, that was the problem that I had with that one up on the hill, on Ledge Hill Road. They put Jim Duke's old house. They put the temporary no culvert.
Right?
And I'm thinking, well, and then I was told, well, they're gonna take that out when they get the construction done. Well, it's still there. The construction's been done. So now you've got a dam, basically,
Yep.
which is not a good thing.
There's one on Ledge Hill Road next to the entrance to Winter Circle Farm that was put in, and it was temporary. That was, what, 7 years ago?
Yep.
And the water just pours down there. As a matter of fact, I didn't take a picture of it, but the ice is, across the road.
It wasn't too bad this year, but the
Yes.
year before it was real bad.
Right.
Yeah, we were up there with the back. door.
What I'll do is I have a call into Boyd Smith, and I'd be willing to sit down with you and him and work on these things. And there've been
We'll
problems.
see what sort of ordinances we can put together. I mean, if it's endemic around the town,
Yep.
I mean, we need to keep the roads.
In Buttonwood, there's issues over there, and some of them you've inherited. Okay.
Well, as I drive around town and look at driveways, some of which have been there a long time, they don't meet the criteria.
Correct.
Now, you talked about culverts, but there are a lot, one of the requirements is that the driveway not drain water down onto the road. We got lots and lots and lots of driveways in this town that is coming down the hill and it just runs right out onto the road. And So it's not an isolated
No.
issue.
All right, anything else?
Yes,
Oh,
go ahead.
go ahead.
So the reason all these people were out here the other day, we went and looked at your family property on the line.
Oh, up on Mount Pleasant?
Lake Region Conservation Trust and Land Bank are interested in acquiring that. I believe they have a purchase agreement.
Not yet, but we're gonna have,
Okay, close.
pretty close.
They asked the Conservation Commission if they would, if we would hold the easement, which we'll have to come to you guys eventually about. But the reason we were, I'm just giving you that background, that's why we were out there. There's a Class 6 road, North Line Road.
Yep.
And that section, it kind of cuts into it cuts off the drainage. The road itself is depressed.
This is past where we maintain though, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a class section down there.
Yeah, it's almost to the old road up the hills.
Yeah. Did you put that road in?
No, that one, calendar put in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there's I believe there's a logging operation, either in progress or,
I think they completed, that was on the Friedman property, wasn't it?
My piece of land.
this would be on the.
That was across the street, I think, at the Friedman house.
Yeah, Friedman
Which-
had one, and then beyond Friedman, Stockman logged that, but that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
So
no, they
it's-
just did one this late winter.
This looks like it's set up. It's on the south side of the road.
Right.
Right-hand side, going towards Wolfboro.
That's been, I think they've been out of there for a while.
They have some kind of agreement to maintain that part of the road. That's all rented too.
Yeah, loggers don't have any responsibility for anything.
Well, anyway, I think they could be.
Yeah, they could be.
And my task.
Because I replaced,
profession-
there was a cement culvert in there that I fixed at one point in time with a steel culvert. I don't know how that lived or didn't, but that would be before, just down from Hooper's property.
Okay.
I only wanted to point out it's town class 6 road, and I think it's an it's a poor example of how something should be managed.
Yeah.
You can't really make it out of one of these other pictures, but there's a huge, almost a pond down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, class 6 roads aren't managed.
Well, this one is unrestricted use, it appears. Anybody can get on it
And that's true with any class 6
Yes.
road.
and pop
Yes.
their four-wheel drive and have some fun throwing some mud around.
Yes.
I think that's kind of what's happening out there.
Yep.
It's been that way since I was a kid.
I think I was the last person to go by Jeep all the way into Wolfboro. That was 40 years ago. So.
It's been a while.
Yes.
It's got a pretty good washout.
There's also snowmobile activity in the winter. I'm just bringing it up, I'm not making a complaint. I saw it, if it was my responsibility, I'd do something about it. Which would, I think on our part, would require some water bars and controlling traffic.
I'm sure we need culverts and there'd be, gravel, there'd be the money, we need money to fix that.
But it's got a good base. I mean, that's one of the oldest roads in town. It might be the oldest road in town.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because in that area, just for a little history lesson, it's called Brighton. And the reason it was called Brighton was because all the people would drive their livestock and chickens and goats and whatever from Sandwich down to Rochester, all along the way. And right there, you can go out, see any number of barn foundations. And they used to brighten their livestock up for market. There's one stop on the
If you
way.
look at the old Governor Wentworth Highway, it comes up to Christie's, North Line Road. And other than where North Line Road stops on Ledge Hill Road, if you draw a straight line, it connects with, as you go out of Melvin.
Oh, no kidding, I
No,
didn't
that-
realize that it at one point continued.
Right, that is the old Governor Wentworth Highway.
Up to a point, yeah. It wasn't Colorado Road, but yeah, they don't have no one. It is an old road, isn't it? Anyway,
That's it.
Thank you.
we'll entertain a budget when you take ownership of the easement. You want to create some parking out there for people to go up on a mountain.
Well, I think there'll be some kind of proposal like that, but
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the Class 6 road right now.
Yep. I had some questions.
Oh, you're gonna talk to him some more? I'm gonna be here all day, by the way.
No. Have you been, you had an opportunity to use PGA?
Thanks, Steve.
Okay,
So, what are we talking about exactly?
Pulverized glass aggregate, putting in culverts.
Oh, yes.
And have you been able to get it okay?
So we hauled back quite a bit when we were going over there. We would bring it back, so we still have a pretty good stockpile at the moment.
Yep.
But I'm sure we can still go over and get more if we need it.
Right. I told you that Clay and my brother and I were over there in a snowstorm, freezing rain, and it doesn't freeze. And I came up with some info on it. It's good for culverts.
Yep, we've been using it on the culverts for a few years.
Mirror Lake Association has a meeting coming up, and they mentioned that there's a dock that's floated down by the culvert close to the Wolfboro, Tuftonboro line.
Okay.
It's about the size of this table.
What do we do with something like that?
In the past, you're the only one who has equipment to remove it.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if somebody's gonna come and float it back to their spot.
I
as opposed to put it on land.
think it's in disrepair, I was told.
So you think it's abandoned?
I haven't,
I can look at it.
Floated east towards the culvert?
yeah.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Wind and the ice pushed it that way. About every 3 years, there's a dock that breaks up and either goes over by the church or
Yeah, usually by the
over
church.
here, right?
Yep,
Yeah, that's where the water's going.
Yeah,
yep.
because this year we had some, during the ice breakup, the wind was blowing from the southwest. I don't know who to contact other than you, so could you take a look at
Yeah,
it?
we'll take a look at it and see if it's just been abandoned or somebody's gonna be coming, looking for that when they come back.
Right. Have you had any contact with Bob Tev about Lake Street?
So I haven't yet, but I did get your message.
Yep.
And so what we usually do, and I'm hoping we just continue with this, is we reach up as far as we can with the mower, and we can get probably 80%, maybe even 90% of the way up. And then usually, the church has somebody cut the rest by hand, which is mostly poison ivy, so I'd rather not do that.
Yeah.
They have some money to pay for some work to be done, so.
No, that's great. You know, hopefully we continue with what we did before.
Well, you know what I liked about what he represented to me was the town has, the dock people have done the dock. We've worked on the landing, the boat launch. They have a cemetery that people visit. They have a church for weddings. They also have, it's amazing when I lived there, how many people photograph the Indian, the grave by the lake. You know, and isn't it nice that that area is being improved little by little, you know, and it's a shared investment, so, okay. Did you get my note on winter budget?
So I did.
Did it make sense to you?
I noticed that there was two.
That was this item here.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you a head up and not jump you. This was about sand that we bought in February, and they're just giving you the bill.
Yeah, supposedly it got lost in the mail or whatever. We knew it was missing. We saw the itemized slip that we were missing, an invoice. So we inquired about it, and that's how we came up with it.
I want to handle this like we helped Clay out, the company that, you know, tests the grounds for the transfer station would do the work this time of year. We wouldn't get a bill for months and months after the budget closed, and you know, I look at your budget and, you know, it's a challenge with the winter that we have, and I just don't want you to get stuck, so do you have it under control?
We'll do our best, yep. We'll have it in.
People who have hauled the gravel and sand out of there say it's a good quality and that we, quote, get our money's worth, so that's what I've heard from private contractors.
Yeah, it's good, it's cheaper than Osprey aggregates, and it's closer.
Closer.
So we save the money.
Yeah, other than the
And you,
water.
and generally, you don't have a problem with invoices, right?
No, they usually,
normally,
we usually get them every week. They send them to us weekly. It was just that one was missing for some reason,
Yeah.
and they had it listed on, on our invoice as that number was missing, or we didn't see it.
Mhm.
So when we inquired about it, it finally came to us.
Yeah.
And they somehow had the original yellow slips that they sent the first time, so.
So it never got mailed, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Of all the projects you and I have talked about, you said there was only money to widen this entrance here, or do you still have the money in the budget for that?
We do at the moment. Yep.
Is that in the other projects, like at the transfer station, we just need the budget for next year, right?
Well, I think that will have a little bit more discussion, because it comes in at an angle, and
What I've
I guess
done
we
is
talk about that.
several of these things here, what I was thinking is, and I'll talk to you about it, is we put them out to bid. You know, like we did Lang Pond Road. But I'll go over those
Yeah.
with you because, you know, you'll have some inputs, so
Yep.
like that. When we talk about snow plowing ordinance, do we need to have the chief here to, because that's a town ordinance? And there's also snow policy. What is the chairman going to handle that?
Yeah, I don't think we need to get into snowplow ordinances quite yet, and we do need to have the chief here. We're gonna do it, and we need to have a little more public.
Awareness.
Yeah, I'm not ready to, at 11:05, when the room's empty, decide we're gonna have an onerous plowing ordinance
Right.
debated and voted on, so,
I agree with you, just wonder if you could put it on the agenda
yeah,
sometime.
yeah.
I hate to have a law for everything, but I think you and I have talked about it. There's some people that just don't want to work with you, and there's some vendors that just don't want to work with you.
Yep, well, it's just, the biggest problem about the snow plowing is when they push across the street and they don't even get it off the road. Some people are pretty good about it though, they get it all the way off the road and other people, homeowners mostly.
If you just push it to the point where it's blocking the ditch on the other side, you got a problem, right?
Yep.
What happens is it just keeps building out, next thing you know, it's halfway to the road.
Right.
And we gotta try to hit it with the
Well,
wing that's solid ice.
and in the winter, like we had this past winter, where you get rain in the winter and that sort of thing, when your ditch is blocked with somebody's plow leavings from their driveway across the street, there's no place for the water to go.
We haven't had a lot of problems with that, to be honest with you, most of the time. It's just that it keeps building out, and then if it hardens up like a rock, and it does, I gotta go up there with the backhoe and get it back for him.
Yeah.
It just fills back in the next two storms after that.
Mhm.
Speaking of plowing, at some point I'd like to have a global solution, and I'm just going to call it the granite post solution.
I'll write that down. Post solution.
It's an unsafe situation. And the last thing is, when is it convenient for you to meet with the selectmen about paving? You had a request to meet with you and Carol and us about paving, and
As far as getting ahead for next year.
yes,
I did talk to Mr. Carroll about that, and he said, I can tell you the next few weeks are pretty busy. So,
yes.
he said we could do it a little bit.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yep.
Like that. And
He is aware though.
you and I had a conversation that future projects need to be started 3 years in advance, right?
It's nice to.
2 years out, we cut the trees. 1 year out, we remove the stumps and the stones. The third year is when we repave.
Well, the culverts too, get the culverts
Yeah,
done in a year.
yeah.
Yep.
I'd like to move upon the successes we've had. Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
Thanks for playing.
Thank you.
Thanks for waiting.
Please have a good day.
Okay,
You too, Jim.
the next item of business is a signature file. First is a notice of intent to cut.
I'll move approval.
45 lot 1-39.
I have a question.
Sure.
That name there and the name on the next piece of paper, is it the same name?
So at this time, we don't have an outstanding bill. Right, there is a levy for one and then an intent.
Right.
And all this is notice to pay, it's not an outstanding bill?
Correct.
No, this is a notice to pay, this is an intent to cut.
Correct.
And 45 139. It's a different lot. No, it's the same lot, 45 139.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I understand that he's removed a lot of stuff.
Okay, the next item for signature is a notice, original warrant yield tax levy on map and lot 45 139 for $1,424.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the next item for signature is a yield tax levy on map and lot 5225 for $489.68.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next is a tax levy for lot 30-2-22 for $143.85.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the next item for signature is our letter to Roberts and Green PLLC concerning our cable. Isn't it? No,
That's your-
this is a different one. Sorry. This is a, okay, this is for our auditors. And it is a what is this?
Like a
It's
representation letter for them
we're-
to,
We're recommending these are the services for audit that we need. Is that what's going on?
Diane would be the one familiar with that. I didn't review the whole thing. I can ask her to come in if you'd like.
Well, it's all right.
Or we can deal with it next time.
This, yeah, I don't know that we need to,
That's true.
yeah, let's read it. Sorry. Okay. So the next item for signature is to assign our attorney, Rick Sager, as the alternate payee for the transfer of LCHIP funds. And this is on the property that we're getting in the Great Meadow. So do we want to assign Richard D. Sager Esquire as our alternate payee?
Did this request come from Vanderpool?
Yeah.
It came from L-Chip.
Right.
I
Rick
don't think it's
Vanderpool
literally
wrote the letter that I'm reading.
Has he been contacted whether he wants to be or not?
I did, I called him.
And did he have any issues?
Nope.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is it just one signature?
That's it. And
There you go.
next item is a right of burial for Burley Family Trust. Huh.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Didn't know there was. The next is another right of burial for David Valancourt.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have an appointment to the planning board. What's that mean?
For Gary Qua
Right.
is
Permanent.
a regular member. He was an alternate.
Okay, so this is changing his designation from alternate to a regular. This is for Gary Qua
For a 3-year term.
for a 3-year term expiring 2022. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the library needs its electricity moved, so we need to change the electric entrance move, I guess. So we need to change the easement that was granted to New Hampshire Electric Co-op.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that just one signature?
I think it is, just
Yeah.
me. And the last thing is
The forest fire wardens.
forest fire wardens, forest rangers, appointments. We're a little late, June 1st.
Oh, he voted no, it got sent to the wrong town, so.
Really? There's another Tuckerberg?
Well, I'm sure it
Okay, so
got
this
sent
is a-
to the
Pony
wrong.
got confused on Pony Express.
This is a reappointment of our, I can read the list, but it's pretty much half of our fire department. To be forest rangers and fire people. Do I have
Move approval.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we get that part done. Okay, thanks. And okay, we got the floor cleaning.
You're ready for Jack's update?
Oh, is he on today?
Yeah, you bumped over me, but that's all right.
Did
I
I?
was busy.
Where were
Yeah.
you? Oh, there you were, 9:45. You're late.
It's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, go
All right,
ahead.
I'll come back next time then.
What do you got for
All right,
us?
there's 59 new building permits, 7 new homes. I've done 10 COs this year. I've done 207 inspections. And the trench for the generator transfer station is going to be done Thursday and Friday. So it's going to go from the main building to the compactor building, that's so they can get some wires over there. And then they'll start working on the generators, which will be on I guess it's the west end of the building, I guess. Tanks and generator there, so.
And you got
That's coming.
three responses with a wide
I
range.
got 3 responses with a wide range of prices. We went with the cheapest one, obviously. Should be all done and paved by Friday afternoon, so.
Good, good. Any other issues? We're gonna do a floor cleaning at some point in time. So we probably need to get
Where?
out in the lobby.
Okay?
And at the transfer station.
and-
Well, transfer station.
That's a different kind of floor.
Yeah, that's Clay's deal,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So,
So here, I would kind of arrange it when they do the fire station, because there's a gentleman that does a fire station.
The same guy.
Really doing a good job.
Same
so,
guy.
Okay.
Jim Patrick.
Yeah.
And I'll coordinate that.
And
And I see,
if you do the lobby, there should be that little section in the file room, I would say.
yes.
Okay.
That's the only hard floors we got, except for the tile.
I want to pay this gentleman a compliment.
All right.
After 12 years, no longer is a member of the planning board, but you've made a difference. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
And would it be appropriate to recommend the Board of Selectmen send him a letter for his file? Making him
Flowers.
A box of chocolates, you want a box of chocolates?
No, I'm all set.
The point is, the
down.
gentleman's made a difference. in everything.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Create a letter of thanks. That would be fine. All right. That's almost through this. This is done. That's the road ordinance, so that's done. Just as a couple of notifications, the library is going to, building committee's meeting on our librarian's coming in on the 17th. Right? Yeah,
Well, we're not gonna be here on the 17th.
Monday.
She's
So,
actually,
she's
unfortunately, you
asked.
won't see her.
We're
This
never
one
gonna
back
see
and
her.
forth, excuse me. That was to tell you about the building committee,
Okay.
but
when are
she's
they
not
meeting?
coming until next month. I don't
So the
think now.
building committee is meeting the 17th?
No,
Where?
I don't think so. Yeah, 1:30 PM, right here.
Did I give you the, I apologize, I
You
gave
gave
you
me the
the,
wrong one.
you
So
didn't need this
Building
one.
committee is meeting on Monday the 17th at 1:30 PM at the Hamel Meeting Room entrance.
Oh, this was an old one saying we're waiting to schedule the next meeting until after bids. That was it,
Okay, on the
Am I supposed
24th
to
of
put your
June.
file out?
Yeah. What do you do all day?
That's your responsibility.
On the 24th of June, the Board of Selectmen are attending the Lakes Region Planning Commission's annual meeting. I'm gonna go over
You
your
already
job.
went?
I'm
No,
going
we
over your
didn't go
job
there.
description. this
Okay,
afternoon.
yeah, you'll be
At the
cleaning house too.
Preserve at Shakora and Tamworth. And somebody had mentioned a chain link fence down at 19 Mile Beach. I went and looked at it. There is a tall fence between the 19 Mile Brook and the beach.
It's been there forever.
But there's plenty of room to
Yeah.
go fishing and there's a
Yeah.
way to get around it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're good there.
Yeah.
We got that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we want to, as we move through this spectrum negotiation or update, do we want to post in the paper for anybody that needs to have cable put in their house? Do we want to, we haven't got a lot of responses just by.
Yeah, I think we ought to put an ad, a notice in the paper, and we ought to put it up on the town website.
Yes.
Okay,
Sounds good.
And,
right, so we've got all the information we need before the renewal date.
mhm.
We can send our letter.
What else are you asking for?
We've got a whole list of things that are within our purview to ask, and I'll make sure that Karen gets you a copy of it. We haven't submitted it yet, so it's,
And in turn, the people who received the document on the last cable report to kind of bring you up to snuff. What we did the last time as opposed to what's coming up this time. I know Bill's probably at the top of the list for cable. But did you get it? Did you send it to them already?
Your
The
document?
cable report that I gave you? I sent you?
Yeah, it's in there,
Yes.
it's in their
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I
fine.
got it. Yep.
Good.
okay.
Can we let Joe review that file? Is there anything confidential he can't see?
It's-
No, I just want to be included with the group, okay?
Yep.
So
Yep.
if there's something I can add, fine, that's great, okay? But we're going in the forward direction this time.
Yeah.
Is
We can give him.
Is the issue with Clay being resolved to our satisfaction?
Well, that's what I was saying in the meeting. That was
So-
resolved. He
so-
resolved it.
So
what
the
about-
billing issue is resolved.
That's right, but not the
But the
representation.
issue is outstanding, which
Get hold of
is
somebody.
to
Having a
have somebody that,
Right.
Right.
that handles the account that you can get a hold of,
As well
or
as,
that
as Joe and.
returns a call.
That's two separate accounts. Clay is one account and we, the town, are another account. Is that correct? Because you went out on your own to secure that cable to get him internet service. And I thought it was an extra contract or an addendum to our present one. Because we were never mentioned in the original one.
Right.
Okay, so, all right.
Well, it's gonna be mentioned in the updated one when we review.
Yeah, right.
All right.
All right. And the on the 10th of June, we'll be meeting with the architects for the police station.
No, that was
Somebody's
a,
meeting with them. Okay, I'm sorry.
oh, it's okay. That's a proposal that you had asked for soft costs.
Right.
Right.
That's
It's-
the design and contract management proposal.
And Andy will be in on the 24th if you'd like to speak to him about it.
Okay, so we're gonna look at that on the 24th. Have you heard from Gordon on the budget committee meetings?
He's fine with, you mean like the schedule?
Yeah.
That I've been working with him for quite a bit for you. And then you see that part about,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I read Mr. Buckley's response. Is there an issue I'm not aware of? Stephen Buckley?
refresh my memory, please, I'm not sure.
That he didn't want to review the dates until closer to the time?
They put together a calendar every year about July for the next year. We're trying to put together dates next February.
Right.
And rather than trying to work directly from his memory, he asked that we hold off until they
Zero in on it?
until they publish their annual calendar, and then
Okay.
it's all gonna be there. Because of course, all of the dates that go into this calendar are as stipulated in various RSAs. And you have to apply that to when town meeting day is and the number of days in advance and that sort of thing. So rather than, I think, my recollection of the response is rather than his taking the time to pull all the RSAs out and go through all this
Right,
stuff
right.
on a one-off for us,
Yeah.
get their people to put it together when it's been done and reviewed and goes out, and then we're not disrupting things.
And he should have time to do that before the budget committee meetings at the end of July. So it worked
Makes
out.
sense to me then.
Did you want Gordon to come in for other things of like what worked and what didn't and so forth?
I think we have to have an organizational meeting first.
Well,
Maybe speak to
I
him.
think it would be helpful for us to sit with the chairman and just before they do the organizational meeting and
But we need to have that.
as we start the budget process to understand things that he felt didn't work well for the budget committee, out of that sort of thing. And I approached him back around town meeting, and at that time, he didn't embrace the idea, but I see some value
Yeah.
in doing that ahead of time. The goal is to make the process work well all the way around. Guys, for the folks that put the budgets together, for the budget committee, as well as how we take this stuff and get it, the inputs
Right.
to them. And the issue that we ran into with the budget hearing last year, when it was held on the last possible day, that, as I remember, created a situation where we had somebody in working on a holiday after that to meet a DRA deadline,
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
right? So how do we avoid that this time around?
Right.
And if early on we set our expectations in terms of time frame, then we all just have to work toward it, that's all. So,
Okay. Did you check with everybody about their email accounts? Do we want to?
So I reviewed them and usage and so on, and those are the ones that I usually get alerts about. And Bill sometimes too, but he's good about going in. I don't, unless you feel like you have a need for increasing too. But I know the fire department, police department, those are the ones that really could use it now. And I figured with your emails, going through my email account were important too. The selectmen for backup.
Okay, so
Another
that-
backup, I should say, we have backups,
I have a dilemma. I want my fire department, my police department, this operation to meet the letter of the law, the spirit of the law. But here we are again into a calendar budget year, and this board asked everyone, please review your computers. And we've had how many instances? Well, this is broken, and I forgot to read the letter, and whatnot. And that frustrates me as a selectman, that people either disregard or forget to respond. I do realize that cars have flat tires and you have to make corrections. But you know, if you notice, we were talking about computers at the last minute for the police department. You know, and if there's an agency that needs computers that are instant and whatever. And please, that's not a criticism, but it is a frustration. But thank you for your efforts.
Okay, I've been requested to ask the board to increase the storage capacity for webmail for the police department accounts, the fire department, the selectmen, and the town clerk at a cost of $40 per month. I'm making that a motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
I said aye.
Oh, you did?
Yes. Our fire and our safety people can't be compromised. I can be frustrated over it,
All right.
but they do a good job.
Voice your frustration.
Thank you.
All right. Multiborough Town, there's a meeting at Multiborough Town Hall of the local communities. The agenda topics include updates on the electrical aggregation RFP, school transportation RFP, group purchasing for paving, road striping, managing roadside invasive species, solid waste challenges, and other topics of interest. That's June 18th at 6:30 p.m. Will anyone be attending?
Yes.
Okay, you're on board. And on June 17th, I already told you that. You need to know that. And we have a copy of Chloe's.
Yep.
You got that? You'll have mine sometime.
And that Wolfboro Community's coming to your next meeting, Wolfboro Community Television, did you see that?
Oh, is he coming here?
On the 24th, right? Yeah.
Wolfboro Community Television is coming to our meeting at 9 to present, for a presentation. About an opportunity for WCTV. So we'll see what they have to say. Hopefully, our friend Joe will be here to.
Yeah, we went through this once before. We'll listen.
Oh,
It's still gonna cost money out of our pocket and it's not necessary, but that's just my opinion.
Well, somebody's got to get paid, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, no,
I don't think there's anything else. Do we have public input? Got anything else to say, Joe?
No, thank you very much for asking.
Okay.
Updates?
Selectmen's updates?
Go ahead.
How'd the auction go?
Oh, we had a,
Updates don't include questions.
right? No, we had a good auction. We, both of the parcels sold at strong, what I thought was strong prices. The house over here at Union Wharf went for $94,000, and the parcel up on Sandy Knoll Road went for $58,000. So gross proceeds from this auction for two parcels was almost as much as we got on 8 at last year's auction.
Yeah.
And lots, I don't know how many bidders there were, but there were easily 50 people there on Saturday morning, and it's a lot.
Bidding was strong.
Yeah, It was,
We
yeah.
did have, I think, 2 mail-in bids.
Two seal bids that were submitted, and both of them were lowball.
Yeah.
So,
We just-
always an opportunity to submit a seal bid. And I had a question, Karen, from the purchaser of the place around the corner, that wanted to know if they had to wait 30 days to close. And I told them that I didn't think they did. What they need to do is get a hold of you right away, and we'll start the process, because Rick, of course, needs to do the paperwork and all of that stuff. So, but the idea I got is she felt within about a week or so they'd have all the money pulled together, and we'd be happy to get closed and get started.
I
Bring
appreciate
that
the
forward.
schedule. I haven't even received the auctions things yet, so,
Yeah.
but I can
Yeah, so-
definitely work with them.
So that was very nice.
Okay.
Could I make a comment on that that's positive? The people who work here deserve a pat on the back. Karen, for all the phone calls you took and monitoring things. Diane was given a box of personal items, and she took them to Paula Friday. Jack, of course, did so many things. Andy got the keys and did traffic control. So it's another example of how the employees we have here step up and do a lot of positive things. So thank you.
No problem.
Well, to that topic, or not the things that people do that are nice, but hopefully there's no expectation on the part of the public that we've come into $150,000 worth of money for the town, because
Right.
we've been notified of court decisions, et cetera, that we need to distribute this money once the expenses are paid. So the taxes will be paid up to date, and any costs that were incurred, I know we took a lot of stuff out of the house on Union Wharf Road.
69 truckloads.
Yeah, any legal costs, that sort of
Yes.
thing, but
Yep,
I think the previous owner got a significant check,
yep.
and I don't know what we're gonna do about the Sandy Knoll piece. I mean,
I
I read that court
think
decision.
we get, yeah, and we've had that piece for over 20 years.
Yeah,
So my opinion is we get attorney's opinion on it and then follow that.
The worst case scenario is a bill of interpleader.
well, the problem with that piece is that it's got so many heirs.
At least
Right.
12.
And probably half of them died and
Yes.
left their interest to 10 more people, so there's probably
Right.
thousands of people out there.
Right.
Anyway, okay. Anything from you, Lloyd, on updates?
Yes, I went through jar performance reviews, and I think we're overdue on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, with another one coming up the 9th of July.
All right. Who are they?
I don't know if Caleb Pike, if one was done for him or not. I
Okay.
can double check, but Diane was May 2nd, Parsons was the 22nd of May, Kinnaman was the 23rd of May, and Hathcock was the 11th of June, so.
And
Well-
mine was February, not that I
Well,
want to point it
Hathcock
out.
should be,
Yeah,
Has yours been done?
No.
Hathcock should be the chief of police,
right.
and
Yeah,
fire chief
Kinnaman
should
should
be
be
the other one.
chief.
I don't know if
I don't know
Caleb's
that we
been
do
done.
job performance reviews on elected officials, that doesn't make
No.
any sense to me.
No.
It's called elections.
Yeah, it's called an election,
And
and
Caleb's
a
coming
financial
out.
audit.
Right.
So I think Kudu's out,
Right. The elected positions are out, and also the library is
they're their own.
It does their own
technically their own.
They're their own.
And Adam has already done the part-time people, so.
Okay.
I think Clay has already done all of his people. I know we've done his personally.
I thought we did Karen.
I thought we did too.
No, I guess we didn't.
I'll check.
All right, what do you wanna
You know,
come in again? Or do you wanna wait for next week? What do you wanna do? You gotta sign checks on Friday.
Yeah. And we could work on, let's see, what do we got this? We could have a work session on those on Friday.
Okay. So we'll be having a work session on Friday at 9 o'clock.
9
The
o'clock.
performance reviews, okay.
Yeah,
So it's non-public.
yeah.
And
So, two items that I wanted to touch on besides the auction. Joint Loss Management Committee did the first half of the inspections last week, and we didn't find any showstoppers, but there were a few items that were repeats, things that hadn't been corrected or had been or had been happened in the past and then happened again. And the reports on that will be coming out, I think, probably after we do the second half, which we'll be doing this week. Planning Board is scheduling a session on wastewater treatment with an engineer who used to do wastewater treatment design work. And I thought I had the date in my calendar, but just as a kind of an information session for those of us in Tuftonboro who don't know about it. And as we go forward dealing with the expansion of the rapid infiltration basin, just understand the mechanics of wastewater treatment systems and how that works with the state and that sort of thing. And I apologize, I thought I had the date. I thought we set the date, but I'll get it to Karen.
It's on a Tuesday.
Right, it is on a Tuesday.
I don't know what the date is.
Yeah, and I thought I put it in my calendar, but I
I
don't
think it's
find
on
it,
the
so.
website, yeah.
Anyway,
is there any movement on getting an attorney?
oh yeah, yep,
So that's
selected
interview.
counsel, yep,
Good.
yep.
Good. So there'll probably be some tutorials. Or there should be. You get a lot of new members on that, really. It's always good to have an update.
Yep.
Just reading law isn't enough sometimes. All right. That's it.
Just the non-public for legal. Non-public for legal. Yeah.
Is there a reason we're doing job performance?
No, this one's for legal, excuse me, today, if you don't mind doing a short 5-minute one.
Fine.
So, all right, so you ready? You're done with all the pertinent stuff?
I'm done with everything.
All right. So will we go into non-public?
I'm sorry, it's July 9th, Tuesday, and then we have a meeting on Thursday, the 11th.
July.
July 9th, Tuesday, that's the water deal.
Thank you.
So that's the planning board.
Yep.
All right, you had a motion going there?
Motion to go into non-public per RSA 91A3, Roman 2, parent L, for legal.
Second, Wood, yes.
Marcus, and yes.
All be yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.